A pleasant good morning to everyone. My name is Priscilla Liebert-Calder, event coordinator here at the RNSBDC at Rutgers-Newark, and on behalf of Dr. Tendai Ndoro, the regional director, I would like to welcome you to our webinar called Access to Capital to Grow Your Business. For those who are unaware of who the SBDC is and what we do, the New Jersey Small Business Development Center at Rutgers-Newark is the premier provider of business training and consulting services to established small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs in New Jersey, but more particularly those living and operating in Essex County. We are one of 12 centers in the RNSBDC network, each center being responsible for one or multiple counties. Our center is hosted by the Rutgers Business School and funded through a partnership agreement between the United States Small Business Administration, Rutgers University, and the New Jersey Business Action Center. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs, business owners, start and grow sustainable and successful businesses through one-on-one business consulting, technical assistance, training workshops, and webinars. For the benefit of those who are attending today's webinar, we have disabled audio. So we'll be taking questions via the chat or the Q&A feature here. That may change. It depends on Andrew and how much of interaction he wants to have. We're on a webinar, so of course the video is restricted, but we'll see if we'll allow for you to voice your questions instead of chatting. If not, just feel free to use the chat box. A copy of today's presentation, along with a replay of the webinar, will be emailed out within 48 to 72 hours, as this is the weekend. All right. And so it is now my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter for today's webinar, Andrew Frazier. Andrew is SBDC consultant here at the Rutgers-Newark Small Business Development Center, as well as founder of Small Business Like a Pro. He specialized, at least for our center, he specialized in finance. So it's no better for him to be the one facilitating today's workshop on access to capital. So without further ado, I will turn today's presentation over to Andrew. Andrew, are we up and running?
We are. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Priscilla. Excited to be here with you guys this morning and look forward to having a very valuable workshop. And thanks for joining us early and being a part of the Access to Capital. And my goal today is really to help you to understand what you need to do in order to be more likely to receive the capital you need for your business. So that's whether you're starting up your business new, whether you've been in business for a while. Many things are similar, and I'm going to cover each of those cases. Now, since you've taken the time to be here early this Saturday morning, and there's a lot of other places you could be, I want to make sure it's as valuable as possible of an experience for you. And one of the ways I want to do that is to keep this an interactive session. So I invite you to interact, speak, ask questions as we go. Feel free to ask questions so we can chat, and you know, we'll just make it a good flow today. I'm okay with giving access to speak, so I don't know,
Okay,
Priscilla.
I'll enable everyone to.
Yeah, you know, if you can allow people, and also if you're on, please feel free to include your camera so we can see each other. Definitely, it's great to you know, be able to interact, so I don't feel like I'm just talking to myself, and so that I can gauge, you know, how well you're understanding, if there's questions, or you know, make sure that we're covering things as best as possible, make it valuable for you. So is that okay with everyone?
Okay.
If that's
I
okay
think
with
the web,
you, you
the
know,
video,
please, you know,
the
turn your
video won't
cameras on
work
if you
on the
can. And,
webinar.
you know, if you're ready to look at getting started, just type ready in the chat, please. Okay. Oh,
Yeah, Andrew, yes, the on the webinar, the video is disabled, so
oh,
only
okay.
audio, only audio works today.
All right. Well, okay.
Mhm.
Is there, well, maybe after the break, maybe we can switch it to regular, because it's a lot better when we can interact. But you know, we'll work with what we got for now. Okay. All right. So it looks like you guys are ready. So, you know, before we get started, just want to get a feel for you know, who we have joining with us today. If you can, in the chat, tell me, either put, you know, I'm currently in business, or I'm working on starting a business, so I can just get a feel for, you know, where you are along the process would be great. So either, you know, let me know if you're currently in business, or you are working on developing your business plan so that you can go in business. Okay. Karima, 2 years. Okay. Stacy, getting ready to start your business. Okay. Who else do we have here? Okay. Okay. Martha, you just starting out. Good, good. Samuel, okay, in business 3 years. Excellent. Jewel, since 2017. Great, great. All right. And anybody else? Okay. Shelley, okay, working, starting a business. That's good. You know, you want to get your business up and running to a certain point and make sure you have enough money for when you get started. So, okay, understand that. And you know, Olawe, Olawe. Hopefully I'm not pronouncing it wrong, but apologize if I am. Okay, currently getting ready to start up multivitamins. Okay, actually, that's a good business area. Supplements, those types of businesses do really well. So excellent, excellent. Okay, so we're pretty close to half and half, it looks like. You know, several people have been in business like 5 years, you know, up to 5 years, and you know, several people are just getting ready to get started with their business. So, okay, and you're doing a manufacturing company. Excellent. You know, I definitely work with a lot of manufacturing companies, and you know, have a background in manufacturing, and so that's cool. Definitely. Okay. And, you know, looking at different ways. So we're going to cover a lot of things today in terms of financing. And today's course is both general and specific, meaning that, you know, on the general side, we're going to cover things that every business owner and every business needs to do to be able to be prepared for financing. And then we're also going to go and specifically look at different types of financing, you know, what they're, you know, what they're used for, what's the best fit, so that you can get a little bit of a feel for where and who might provide the type of financing that you want. So So that's cool. Okay, Samuel, you got a retail online. Great, great. And Sade, you're looking to start, but you're not fully there. Okay, excellent. So it still looks like about 50-50, which is excellent. So okay. So before we get started, I'll just introduce myself real quick. So my name is Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO. And really what I do is work with entrepreneurs and business owners to empower them to grow their business and maximize the value by helping them to grow their revenues, increase profits, and obtain financing. Focus on business strategy and financial management, and work with a lot of people on helping get financing. It's a pleasure. I've been working with SBDC for several years, doing workshops and training on access to capital and finance and accounting, and also counseling people on behalf of the SBDC that are looking for financing. And so it's great that you're here today. It's good that you're participating through the SBDC. Definitely SBDC has some great programs and activities for entrepreneurs and business owners. And, definitely it's good to take advantage of them. One thing that I recommend is, if you're looking to start your business and you haven't taken the business planning course, recommend that you look at doing that. It's a 4-part course. I teach parts 3 and 4, but it's a really good way to help make sure you have a much better and more effective business plan to go forward with. So definitely that. And the other thing is, take advantage of SBDC's counseling. They provide complimentary or no-cost counseling session for business owners. And if you've gone through their program, they, as part of going through their programs, it's an opportunity to sit down with a business counselor like me, who they have, quite a few people, and they can sit down with you, talk to you about your business. And, that's something that's available to you. And, many small business owners don't take advantage of all the things that are available to them. So, I encourage you to do that as well. So let's take a look. I've got a little bit about what you're doing as we go. If you could also just, type in the chat. Robin mentioned it, or actually maybe let me hear from you guys. It'll give me a little life this morning. So if everybody could just take like 30 seconds, tell me what type of business you're looking to do, you're doing, and what you'd like to get out of today's session. So I can make sure we accommodate that to the best of my ability. You want to start us off, Stacy?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Stacy Reagan. I am starting an evening and overnight childcare center.
Okay.
We will also operate on the weekends. And the reason why we've decided to start the childcare center is for people such as myself that work during the day but wanted to start a business, and then at one point wanted to complete a graduate degree, and really didn't have anyone to watch my children. I'm in a very fortunate situation because my mom does live here with us, and she has always helped. But there's just some days that she doesn't feel like it, and I can't blame her. She's already raised her children. But then there's others who truly have no choice. I worked in alternative education for a while, and I would always encourage my students after they would get their GED, oh, now you can go on to college or whatever trade it is that they wanted to do, encouraging them to get a certification. And their response was, Miss Stacy, who's gonna watch the kids?
Okay.
Good point. So what I want to get out of today's session is, what, now I'm sorry, I keep saying, what I want to get out of today's session is exactly what I need to have presented or have ready to present to
Okay.
banks to purchase a building, as well as all of the equipment involved in it, including vehicles for transportation.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Stacy. Thanks, Stacy. Who wants to go next?
Hello, good morning, everyone. Julianne.
Okay.
So the name of my business is Carib Construct. It's registered, but I'm not active yet. Carib Construct is, I'm building Carib Construct to be the preferred digital platform for all construction business in the Caribbean. What has motivated me to build this platform is that about 1.5 years ago, I purchased a multifamily property in New Jersey. Because I want to start off in terms of having several properties. But in doing that, I encountered a lot of challenges. There are things that I didn't know. There definitely stuff in terms of the building and whatnot that I had to understand. And I think everybody here is familiar with Angie's List and Home Advisor and stuff like that. Well, I also want to purchase a property in the Caribbean, where I'm originally from. And I realized like there was no resource for me to go in order to find out about people in construction, whether or not they provided quality work, because I've had so many discussions with people who had challenges finding people who could do the quality work that they needed, and then also other resources as well.
Okay.
So I'm building this platform to, firstly, to help me to know like who are the suppliers that send building products to the Caribbean, and then who are the providers that, who can do specific work and so on that I need.
Okay.
And so that's what encouraged me to build this platform.
Okay.
And what I'm trying to get out of this is because of the nature of the business, it's not quote unquote product related, but services related and so on. Like, how can I basically get financial assistance to be able to build out the quality platform that I'm hoping to build?
Okay. Great. Great. We'll definitely be talking about that. Appreciate you sharing. Who wants to go next?
Hi, this is Samuel.
Okay.
Hi, yeah. This business is, we market its entire product line through an online distribution network of members across over 20 countries in the world. But I don't know, how can I wonder, how can if I can maybe access some any capital for growing business?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll talk about that today, definitely. Good, good. All right. Who'd like to go next?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jewel Singletary. I'm the founding owner and operator of Gratitude Griot LLC. We are a personal health and wellness-based business providing mindfulness tools that focus on self-regulation, increasing mobility, and alleviating chronic stress. We service both individual clientele as well as corporate and government partners. So at this point, I'm joining this workshop. We've been in business since 2017, and I've been a solopreneur this whole time. So I would love to be able to hire a team and to have capital in order to hire a team. And so that was my interest in joining this workshop.
Okay, great, great. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Okay. Who haven't we heard from so far?
Hey, this is Robin. I'm happy to go next.
Okay.
Yeah, so my name is Robin. I've worked for a med device manufacturer in New Jersey for a number of years. I'm looking now to start my own manufacturing company specializing in 3D printing for medical devices. So the idea is it's quite a new field. It's quite difficult for new entrants to get into. So my company should allow people to get access to the technology easier and get to market quicker. The big thing I'm really kind of, the thing that's always stopped me doing it is the kind of the capital outlay and the kind of the expense involved in setting up. So that's always been the barrier for kind of doing it on my own. So I'm interested to try and figure out how realistic and kind of timeframes it is to get access to different levels of capital and what's realistic and what's not realistic.
Okay, great. Great. Look forward to talking about that and sharing. Okay, thanks for sharing. Who else do we have that hasn't? Okay. All right.
Hello.
I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my audio. So I'm on like 2 different devices. I'm going to exit one of them.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. There you go. That's much better.
I am Karima Jackson. I own Exquisite Property Services. It's a property cleaning company. To be honest, I at full capacity would be more focused on waste management in New Jersey. Waste management is highly regulated. So in order to do waste management, you have to get a DEP license, which is extremely expensive and time consuming to go through the process. So as the business goes through that process, we're not operating at our maximum capacity until we get that license. So we're doing other interior property cleaning for homes, businesses, and government. We've been in business. I started about 2 years ago. So it's been kind of I guess the biggest issue that I've found is securing capacity in terms of capital, securing capital as a young business, even going through all the processes to make sure that I have a FEN, making sure that I'm registered through, have a DUNS number, that person credit is good. Even as a young business, it has been extremely difficult to secure the capital to get some of the additional equipment and things that I need. So I've kind of poured into my personal accounts and credit to be able to do what I need on a business end. So even what we did yesterday was extremely helpful in terms of starting to look at and focusing on the finances specifically of the business.
Okay. Great. Great. Thanks as well. All right. I'm missing anybody? All right. Okay. I think we got everybody. Going once, going twice, going 3. Oh, yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Because I'm raising my hand. I'm into healthcare and dealing with the Department of Disability. I need to look into obtaining buildings, apartments, or condo or housing everywhere in order for me to get a solid, fully business with the state of New Jersey.
Okay, great, great, great. Excellent. Okay, so we got a great group
Hello?
here. Yep. Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Shirley. I'm looking to start a private label spice business on various e-commerce platforms. I'm starting on Amazon and I'll be expanding from there. I'll be focusing on gourmet spices, which generally haven't been marketed to young consumers. Usually these spices are marketed towards restaurants and older consumers. Young consumers are always looking for convenience, and there are spices that are available in the gourmet market that can easily replace certain condiments that are high in sodium.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can so that when the time comes to raise capital and expand, I'll have the resources and information that I need.
Okay, great, great. Well, definitely thank you all for introducing yourself. Thank you for joining us today. So what we're going to do is talk about accessing capital to grow your business. Again, my name is Andrew Frazier and working with the Rutgers-Newark Small Business Development Center. So what are we going to do today? So, we're going to talk about a few key things. Some things that are really important when you're looking to access capital is one, you need to know how much money you need. If you don't go in there talking about a reason, it making sense for the amount of money that you're asking and having a good reason for that, then that really doesn't help with your credibility. And your credibility is one of the key things that determines whether you obtain financing. The second piece is it can be really confusing because there's so many different sources of capital, and each one has its own nuances and its own different types of financing and industries that it wants to work with. So the universe can be very confusing, and many people actually are trying to get the wrong type of financing from the wrong places based on what they're trying to do in their needs. So we're going to talk a little bit about, how you figure out the right types of sources of capital for your business needs. And then, financing is new for a lot of people. And one of the things you need to do is put together a proposal so that, when you're asking for financing or seeking financing, there's things that you need to have put together as part of the proposal for your financing. And, everything we're doing today is really focused around helping to prepare you so that it increases the likelihood of you getting financing, and also it can increase the amount of financing you get, and it can help you get better terms on the financing you get. So the more prepared you are, the more you know what you're doing, the more success you're going to have in this area. We can't guarantee that you're going to get financing because nobody can, but we can definitely make it more likely and help you further along the way, and help it happen sooner. So that's really what today is all about. Today what we're going to do is, one, based on what we do today, you should be able to put together a high level financing plan for your business. You should have an idea of what type of financing you need and who provides it. You also know about common pitfalls that people run into and how to avoid them. And then, as a result, you should be able to get the financing you need quicker and easier. So, okay, so is that what you're here for and what you're looking for? If that's what you're looking to do with me today, just type yes in the chat, so you can let me know that we're on the right track. So appreciate it. Again, this is me. So our agenda today is really looking at a quick overview, and then we broke it down into 4 pieces. Number 1, prepare. That's the first thing. You got to prepare yourself in your business. Second thing, you got to do research. You got to do research on investors and lenders. For everything, you have to assemble documents. It's not fun, but without documents and information, you're not going to get financing. So you need to understand the required information, what they're looking for, and assemble it in a way that it can have you, more likely to get financing. And the fourth, and many times the hardest part, is yielding. Through the process, it's always going to take longer than you want. They're always going to ask more questions than you want. They're always going to need more information than you want. But just because of that, you have to understand that you have to yield. You're not in control. You have to let the process go the way the process is going to go, because you're not really going to be able to do too much to expedite the process or make a difference beyond doing what the underwriters and analysts want you to do. And if you don't yield to them and, fight them, they're the ones that are ultimately going to have, make the decision whether you get the financing. And not only that, many times you're never even going to meet them. So you're working with them through other people or through email. So it's important to, throughout the process, they're people, it's a relationship, they're doing their job. So you want to let them do their job and help them to be able to do their job better for you. So, those are the key things. And then we'll have question and answer so we can talk about and get feedback and questions from you guys as well. So does that work for you?
Yeah, good.
Okay. So are you guys ready? So let's take a look. So, when you're talking about financing, it can be one of the most difficult things for business owners. I work with business owners of all sizes, and cash flow is always an issue. So, that's part of being a small business, but it's important to plan. And if you plan and get your financing right, then that can help you alleviate a lot of cash flow issues. The majority of businesses that seek financing do not get financing. So why is this? And one of the key things is they haven't gone through something like this. They're not prepared. They don't know what they're doing. So as a result, usually when you don't know what you're doing, you don't really do it that well. So hopefully this will give you some insights. And it says 27% of the businesses surveyed, but it's probably even a lower percentage that were it's probably even worse than that. And because not every single application is recorded, not every, sometimes it doesn't get past a certain phase. So it's very difficult for small businesses to get finance. So what we're going to talk about is ways to make it more likely for you to get financing for your small business. So, if you look at why most small businesses fail, number one is marketing. Their marketing and sales is ineffective, so that they're not able to make enough sales to stay in business. But number two is running out of capital. So that tells you a little bit about how important access to capital is. But, working with many businesses and many entrepreneurs, by far the biggest problem I see or challenge I see with most of them is marketing and sales. And sometimes their cash flow and other things are a result of marketing and sales. So one thing you want to remember as a business owner, your number one job is marketing and sales. And you want to spend your time, make the effort to do that, because that's the number one challenge for small business owners. And if you're not marketing and selling right, then it's unlikely that you can grow your business. And why would someone invest in you if you're not able to do the most important job within your business successfully? So demonstrating that you can market and sell is hugely important to any lenders and even equity investors even more so. So having a solid marketing plan and strategy, having the selling skills, those are just as important as all the financial things in getting financing, because you have to demonstrate that. So, keep that in mind. So it's such an important point on, marketing and sales being your most important job and as a business owner. So I just want you to put that in the chat. Sales and marketing is critical, because I want you to definitely make sure you take that away and think of that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a future business owner and entrepreneur. Selling and marketing is key, and every day you should be making an effort towards your marketing and selling efforts. So, so definitely, put that in chat, remember it. And as we go forward, You know, if you look at it, you know, what percentage of loans are approved by investors? If you look at it, 23, you know, 20, you know, according to here, 23% of loans. So actually big banks approve the least percentage. And that's kind of interesting because most business owners, the first thing they think of when they're looking for financing is going to a bank, and usually a big bank. But many times that's not the right place to go. And especially if you're a startup, your bank, especially if it's a big bank, is definitely not the right way to go. Unless you're, you know, you have a lot of your own personal money that you're putting in, unless you have cash flow from other sources, it can be very difficult to go to a big bank and get financing because that's not really where they focus. So understanding where to go for your financing is critical. So today we're going to talk about a methodology that I developed called Pray for Financing. So, you know, if you're going to access to capital, you have to pray, which praying means preparing yourself and your business, researching investors and lenders, assembling the required information, and then yielding to underwriters and analysts. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today and going through in this session. So, you know, first thing we'll talk about is preparing yourself. You know, you have to prepare yourself to be able to obtain financing. So before anything, they're going to look at you personally. So you have to have your financial house in order as a business owner, because they're not just lending the money to your business, they're lending it to you. So they want to see a good track record and that you are credible and able to handle money. You also need to prepare your business. There's things that you have to do in terms on the financial side, in terms on the planning side within your and for your business that are critical in the financing decision process for lenders and for investors. You know, you got to look at your capital structure. You know, we're going to look at looking at research, looking at different investors and lenders, looking at the due diligence process and documentation and all. So, you know, this is a quick overview of what we're doing. So any questions on what I've gone through so far?
Hi,
Yes.
Stacy. I have a question.
Yes.
So are we going to talk about the difference between like the savings banks and life insurance companies as well as the alternative lenders? And will you give examples? Are we going to talk about that?
Well, we're going to talk about all those things. You know, some of them we will talk about more than others, but you know, as we go, you know, feel free to ask questions, but we're going to get to that. So.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for asking.
How about the access to, you know, life insurance company for the financing? Is that any the criteria for we have to prepare for between life insurance company and bank, regular bank? Is it different?
What kind of company? You said licensed?
Life, you talk about the life insurance company, right?
Oh, life insurance.
Right. And then regular bank, what's different?
Well, they look for different things in investments. They look for different types of investments.
Okay.
They look for different
Very,
sides.
very interesting. I'm very interested over there.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna talk some about that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, before we go too much into it, I don't want to skip
Sure.
other things that we want to cover. But yeah,
Okay.
definitely want to talk about that.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yes, are you going to talk about the USBA?
The SBA, small business SBA loans?
Yes.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Yes, we'll definitely cover that. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Cool. Okay. Everybody good? So let me, I just want to show you just a quick video. Let's see. Let me share my screen. Okay. Just I did with a banker that I work with. Hey, good afternoon. This is Andrew Frazier, outsourced CFO and owner of Small Business Like a Pro. Excited to be here with Alex Marin. He's a lending officer at Spencer Savings Bank.
That's correct.
And we've worked together for several years now.
Several years.
And Alex has lent my clients millions of dollars.
Yes.
So he's a good guy to know. So thanks for being here.
No, thank you for having me.
Okay.
Once again, my name is Alex Marin. I'm Vice President of Commercial and Industrial Lending, Spencer Savings Bank here in New Jersey.
Okay. And you've got a wealth of experience in lending, and we know we're going to see you on the Biz Financing Like a Pro Summit in March, but just anything that's key that you think someone seeking financing should know?
Yes, one word, preparation. That's probably the most important word, because I think a lot of people come for financing unprepared, and that's where it really goes awry. So I think when you join teams with somebody like Andrew, who helps you prepare for that moment, there's a much better chance or higher possibility of actually being approved and getting that financing. So again, like Andrew said, I've given millions of dollars, not given, excuse me, lent millions of dollars to his clients. But the most important thing that's giving out there is preparation. That is really what you need.
Okay. Great, Alex. I look forward to having you on the summit, and
Thank you very
always
much.
a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Okay. So, you're not only hearing it from me. If you talk to any bankers, lenders, that's their biggest issue, is most people who come to see them are not prepared. So one huge way that you can stand out is by being prepared when you go see them, because that already puts you in a much better light as far as being able to get financing. And based on what we're going to teach you here, you're going to be, if you follow along in what we teach you here, you're going to be way more successful than, way more prepared than many other people going for financing. So let's talk a little bit about, what that means and what that looks like. So, like I mentioned, the key to obtaining financing is being prepared. First part, preparing yourself and your business. The second part is doing the research on lenders, on sources, on investors. The third part is assembling the required documentation. And the fourth part is yielding. So let's take a look at each of these in a little more detail. Everybody knows the Boy Scouts are famous. Their motto is be prepared. And that's really what you want to do when you are going for financing. So what does it mean to be prepared? You want to have the stuff that you're going to need. You want to have some stuff that you might need. You want to be positioned so that if there's other things you don't have that you need, that you can find them and obtain them quickly. So, and then not only that, you have to be able to communicate. You have to not only have things on a piece of paper, but understand them and know them. And understand that you know your business, you understand your market, you understand your product. Basically demonstrate that they're making a good choice by choosing to finance you. So that's the first part. So preparing. And at the end of the day, if you're failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And that's why most small business owners who look to get financing do not get it. So what does it mean to prepare yourself? You know, of course, you need to have your credit report and score taken, you know, in a good position. It's amazing how many people try to go get financing with a terrible credit score, but even worse than that, with negative things on their credit score or credit report that are not resolved. So just think about it. You're going to borrow someone some money from someone, and you are showing, you know, through your credit report, you're showing them that you borrowed money from other people and didn't pay them back. So what does that mean for your situation? That doesn't really put you in a good light. So people understand that things happen. People understand that, you know, there can be hard times or challenges. So it's okay to have problems on your credit report, but it's not okay to try and get financing if you haven't resolved the problems on your credit report, either by, you know, making the payments. Maybe you still have lingering showing that it was late, but you made the payments, you caught things up, you worked out a payment plan. Some things may not be accurate, but you know, you still need to get them off of your credit report. So, you know, really, when you're thinking of financing, you really want to start the process 6 months out, because you need to go through your credit report. If there's things you need to fix, you need to start working on that immediately. So that's number one. You start with your credit score. You want to look at your budget, you know, personal budget. You know, how is your personal cash flow? When you're running a business, when you're looking for a business, one of the things you got to do is minimize your personal expenses. So, you know, looking at your budget, they're going to ask you for your budget. They're going to ask you for your income and your expenses. So they're going to analyze that, and that's going to play a part in whether you get your financing. So, you know, it's important to have that under control. Your net worth. Many people have a negative net worth. So that means if they were to die, they would owe people. So it would be really difficult to feel comfortable loaning money to people in that situation. It happens, but if, you know, you want to avoid that as much as possible, and just in general, that's, you know, you want to work on building your net worth over time. So that's saving, that's having assets that are greater value than your liabilities. But, you know, building a positive net worth and building on it significantly, you know, helps in the financing process. You know, of course, you want to have some savings. So can anyone tell me who the most important investor in your business is? Just type it in the chat. Who is the most important investor for your business? So, okay. Anyone else? So what do we have? The most important investor in your business is you. So if you don't have any money to invest in your business, don't waste anybody else's time. Okay. You have to be the first and most important investor in your business. And if you're not willing to do that, then no one else is going to be willing to do that for you. Because it's your business. You're the one that is going to benefit the most from its success. So you need to be totally focused. And if you're taking someone else's money, they're expecting you to deliver on it. And you need to be more committed to it than they are. So you need to have your money in there. And, you know, depending on what type of business, you know, there may or may not be a certain amount, but at an absolute minimum, you need to have at least 10% of the total money needed to start your business that you're putting in. And really it should be 25% unless you're getting an SBA loan. So if you think about it, 10%, if you need $100,000, you need to have at least 10,000 of your own, and probably would make sense to have 20 or 25,000 of your own. So just to put it in perspective, it's very important for you to save. You know, another thing that you want to do is have insurance. You know, business can be risky, and life could be risky. So, you know, insurance helps you to cover risks that you can't shoulder on your own. So, you know, of course, health insurance is important, but even beyond that, you know, if you have a lender, a lot of times, if you don't have life insurance, they're going to make you get life insurance, just in case something happens, because they want their money back. And, you know, insurance on your business, you know, it's important to, you know, have insurance and demonstrate that as part of the process. So all these things, there's a whole lot of little things that can add up to a lot. So, you know, these are things that you could be working on, should be working on anyways, but, you know, especially if you're thinking about financing, these are some things that you need to do to prepare yourself. So, you know, we're not going to go into detail on personal credit because there's a lot of places you can get that information from, but, you know, you can get your credit report free for once a year. You want to make sure everything's accurate, and if not, there's easy ways to correct the inaccuracies. You got resources to reach out to them, and, you know, there's, you know, percentages of the you know, what goes into your credit score. And then, you know, if it's not where you want it to be, then you should work on a plan for improvement. You know, just a rule of thumb, generally, if you don't have at least a 660, it's really, really hard to get financing, especially at a decent interest rate. So that should be your minimum goal of getting your credit score up to and above a 660. Okay. And, you know, when you think of your personal budget, you know, there's sources of income, your expenses, all those things you want to lay out and know. You know, one of the things that every lender is going to ask for is a personal financial statement, or PFS. And they're going to ask you, they're going to want you to fill all those things out. So you may as well have it done and have it ready and know these things and try and make them, you know, as, you know, as positive as possible. You know, try and lower your expenses, increase your income. You want to put your best foot forward. So, you know, working on the personal side is important. And then, you know, these are the things that they're going to ask you on your personal financial statement as well. They want to know your net worth, looking at your assets, things that you own of value, subtracting out your liabilities, things that you owe, and then that'll give you your net worth. So, you know, these are some examples of assets, of liabilities, and then that'll give you your net worth. So, you know, I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time going through these, but you're going to get the presentation and you can look into them more. But, you know, like we said, you know, preparation is everything. So you know, you can't prepare if you don't know what to prepare. So these are things that you need to do to prepare personally. Any questions on what we covered so far about preparing your business? I'm sorry, preparing personally. So we covered quite a few things. Yes, okay, question about, is it possible to get your life insurance policy for collateral? Yes, but only certain types of life insurance are usable for collateral. So there's two main types of life insurance. The first one is term life insurance, and term life insurance covers you for a period of time or a term. And then there's permanent life insurance that, of course, it covers you permanently for the rest of your life as long as you pay your premiums. And term life insurance is just you're paying for insurance, but The permanent life insurance actually, it has an investment or savings component as well. So, when you have a permanent life insurance policy, it builds cash value over time. So the cash value that you have in your policy can be used as collateral. So, so if you buy $100,000 insurance policy, you don't have $100,000 that can be used as collateral, but over time, it may build up to cash value 500, 1,000, 5,000. So that can be used as collateral because it's really like savings. You can go in and borrow the money, or if you want to terminate your policy, they'll give you that cash. So it's equivalent to cash. So yes, good question. You can do that. Any other questions? Feel free to speak up or put in the chat. Any other questions about preparing yourself personally for financing?
Hi, it's Stacy. I put a couple of questions in the Q&A as opposed to the chat. But one of them, since you were talking about the insurance, so since term insurance policies do not have cash value, but would they accept a term policy if it was, say, like the same duration as the term of the loan? So like if it was a 20-year mortgage loan, but then I got a 20-year term policy and made them the beneficiaries, that's something you would accept?
They will accept it. It won't count as collateral though, because it's not worth anything unless you die. So, they want the collateral. So even if you don't die and you don't pay them, they can take the collateral. But they may still require you to have that amount of term insurance just in case you die, but you're not going to get any extra credit for it as far as whether you're going to get approved or not. It's just going to be something required if you get the loan.
Okay. Another, I don't know if you want to read the questions or you want
actually I just got to them. So what is a good credit score? Okay, so we mentioned at least 660. You really want to be 700 or above. And it really doesn't hurt to be 750 or above, but at a minimum 660, or most regular financing isn't really going to look at you at all. So yeah, so that's definitely important. And then how do students loans impact your business loans? Well, your student loans are going to be what they are. The most important thing is to show that you're paying them on time and that you have enough income to pay them and pay your, and also pay your, pay the student loan and pay whatever living expenses you have and be able to pay back on the loan that they give you. So, so it just, causes you to need more cash flow in order to be able to get financing from them. So yeah, all those key things, because yeah, they're going to look at all of your debt put together and all of your income and expenses put together. So both personally and business wise. So yeah, so that's how student loans fit in. But it's hopefully you don't have like $500,000 in student loans or anything super crazy. But yeah, they're definitely going to take that into account.
So it's 100,000. That doesn't look crazy between like undergrad and grad.
It doesn't matter because it is what it is.
That's half a house, half a cheap house.
What matters is that you're paying them, because they're going to want their money back plus interest or plus a return. So as long as they're comfortable that you can deliver that, that's really what matters the most, as opposed to the amount. It's just, how that fits in with your situation of being able to deliver on, what on your business successfully and deliver on getting them the return that they want. So Okay, but great questions, and
I have a question for you.
yes.
First, Stacy, I feel your pain. My student loans is up there as well. Education is expensive. But I wanted to ask you, in starting my business has been around for about 2 years now. And when I started my business, I have always kind of maintained credit in the high 700s. But again, in trying to secure capital and not having it, I use my own means to do it. The cash on hand, my own personal credit cards, that sort of thing. And in doing it, I did it and was able to get the business off the ground and do the things I needed to do. But my personal credit did take a hit in doing that stuff. So now I stay lingering around the mid 600s. But in it, most of my issue is kind of my credit usage. That's kind of my simple issue. I have a perfect payment history, that sort of thing. So for someone starting out who has to use their own resources, rely on their own personal credit worthiness, whereas even in having good credit when I started, I still couldn't get lenders to take me serious. And it could be because as you're about to go into preparing the business credit, I hadn't had that piece of it together. And so in relying on my personal credit, is there something that you would kind of recommend or something that you can offer in terms of advice for people who, like me, who've used their personal credit to kind of finance their business, and now you kind of struggling to rebuild the personal credit, as now the business credit I have kind of I have an 80 Paydex score on Duns and Bradstreet, but and still trying to apply and get lenders, I'm still having a difficult time. But it is because I'm at maybe about a 640 in terms of credit score as opposed to being in the 700s.
Okay. Yeah. Well, actually, you covered a lot of key things. So thank you for your question. Great question. And yeah, definitely want to bring up a few things. So, one thing is you don't want to try and get financing after you run out of your money, because then it's super difficult. So, the goal is, but most people do that. So it's not like it's uncommon. But, if you're just starting out and you're thinking about going to into business, there's a few things that you can do in advance that will help you a lot. But yeah, number one, people don't want to give you money when you're out of money. They want to give you money when you have money. There's a joke that goes, generally, your banker, gives you an umbrella, but then they come around and take it away when it starts to rain. So as long as things are looking good, it's a lot easier to get financing than when things are looking a little bit challenging. So you want to be ahead of the curve. You want to think you want to plan in advance and think what you're going to need in advance. And like I said in the beginning, you need to know how much money you really need to run your business, because you want to figure that out in the beginning and get it before you really move forward too much. Because once you start moving forward and spending your own money, if you need more, it's going to be that much harder to get. So, number one, you want to prepare early and get access to all the money that you think you're going to need first. Number two, if they're looking at your business for financing, what they're really going to be looking at is your cash flow. Do you have enough free cash to be able to pay payments on your loan currently where you are? So they're not looking at, okay, well, I'll give you the loan, and then as a result of the loan, your income's going to go up. They're not looking for that. They're looking for, do you have enough income right now to make payments on this loan before I even give it to you. And yeah, it seems kind of crazy because, you know, if you need money, you might not need the loan if you had that, but that's the way that they look at it. So, you know, you sort of have to think about things a little bit in their shoes, the way they look at it. So, you know, it's important to, you know, look at your cash flow, understand your cash flow, you know, understand, you know, how much total money you need. And, you know, they're looking for you to, you know, have a good plan and be able to demonstrate how you getting the money is going to clearly help you grow your business and be able to pay them back. So, you know, so, you know, if you haven't been in financing or looked for financing before, that can seem kind of strange because, you know, you need money to finance your business, but, you know, it's not easy in a lot of things. You know, you figure, well, if I had that, I wouldn't need financing. So keep that in mind. And the other thing is, especially when you're starting out, your business credit score really doesn't matter. I mean, it shouldn't be terrible, but what matters more than anything else is your personal credit score. So your business credit score can be great. If your personal credit score is not great, then you're most likely not going to have, it's not good. You'll have people telling you that it's different, but you can't, you know, fix you can't make your personal credit score seem better by having a good business credit score. And a lot of times, you know, for small business, they're going to only count that, and they're going to think of it primarily as a personal loan. Even if you have an LLC, you're going to have to sign a personal guarantee where you're personally liable for it. So even if something goes bad, even if you have an LLC, you're still going to have to pay back the loan. So, you know, as a small business early on, don't expect to be able to not be on the hook for the loan, and it not to be personal loan as well as a business loan. And because of that, many times you might be better off taking the personal financing, because a lot of, you know, rather than going after business financing, you know, depending on the amount and what you need it for, you might be better off getting access to financing personally, and using it for your business because it's effectively the same. You know, that being said, if you're still working, you want to get access to as much credit as possible while you have the most income. So if you're thinking about going into business, but you're still working, you want to build up and get access to, you know, additional credit cards, additional lines of credit, whatever you can before you go into business. Because once you go into your business, most likely your income is going to be a lot lower, and then it's going to be really hard to justify financing. But if you already have it, you have it. So same for credit cards and other stuff. And what you have to do is just use that specifically only for your business. So you can have a personal credit card that you only use for business expenses and everything business. But getting as much access to credit before you go into business, or while you're still working and have income, or if you have a spouse who has income that can sign on for you, is one of the best things that you can do. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. Kind of long answer to your question, but you hit on a lot of key things that, you know, that are important to know if you're looking for financing.
Stacy, I have a couple of questions. Well, not a couple, but so for a strategy to build our personal credit, but using it for the business, would be credit cards, taking loans from maybe our employer's credit union, and what about personal bank loans?
You can do personal bank loans, and sometimes it's better to have a line than a loan. So like a credit card, like a line of credit, because when you don't need the money, you don't want to have it sitting around. But getting higher available balances or higher limits on your credit cards, or because then when you use it, you're using a lower percentage of your total credit, and that'll help your credit score, and also give you access to money when you need it.
So if we go and get a line of credit, should it have our personal name as opposed to the business name? So like I'm thinking of Home Depot or Staples, something that I can use now.
Well,
would it be better to do it in the business name as opposed to a personal, like to say
either way they're going to pull your personal credit. If you can get them to put it in your business name, then that's just, but it's still really just personal when it boils down to it. But if they'll put it in your business name, but if not, that's fine. The most important thing is to get it, because money's money, and you just account for it. Make sure that you account for it on the business side. Okay,
so the biggest, I'm repeating, and I hope I'm not getting on anybody's nerves. I'm repeating it so that way I can make sure that I'm fully understanding it. So the goal is just to show that we are paying our bills and paying them on time. So whether it's the business EIN or whether it's my own social security number that I'm using, as long as a lender can see that we're paying our bills on time, is going to help.
It's going to help. Yeah. I mean, definitely. And it's just a good thing to do. But yes, definitely. Cool.
Right. Got it.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So appreciate all the questions. These are great. It helps to be interactive. It's Saturday morning, and want to keep this lively, and also just want to make sure this is the best experience possible, and you feel 100% confident that it was worth your time. So great. Thanks for asking questions. So let's jump back in. So we talked about personal preparation. So now let's talk about business preparation. So even if you're not in business yet, there's business preparations that you need to make. First and foremost is a business plan. It doesn't have to be like a 500-page business plan, but it needs to lay out sort of what you plan to do with your business, and how you plan to make it work, and talking about the market and the product or service that you're offering to demonstrate how there's a value, and there's a need and people are willing to pay for it. And so having that plan and putting numbers behind it and projections behind it is key. Putting together your uses of funds. How much money do you need, and what do you need it for? In as much detail as possible. And then once you know how much you need, what are the sources, where you're going to get it from? And so really, it's important to put that down and have a strategy and a plan. And remember, you're one of the sources. So, it's important to kind of make sure that you're putting up a reasonable amount of money based on how much money you feel you need. And many times it might be better to start on a smaller scale so that you can put up, so you don't have to come up with as much money to get started, and you can test your assumptions and learn some things before you put too much money out there on the line. Because once you spend your money, it's spent, and not everything you try to do is going to work out the way you plan. So it's good to try things in smaller steps. So you need to know how much money you think you need, where you plan to get it from. You need to have financial projections, laying out what you'll do once you have that money and what your business should do, and you know how much sales it's going to bring in, how much profits it's going to bring in, and show that you're going to be able to make money on top of being able to pay them back. You have to have your tax returns. So another thing, if you're looking to try and get financing, if you don't have your taxes current, then you need to do that first before you go talk to anybody about financing. So, you know, current means either submitted on time or possibly under extension within the extension time frame. But even still, they're probably going to want to see your tax returns, even if you're on extension, or they're going to want to see your financials. And it's better to really just try and get your tax returns done, because it just makes it a lot easier and better, because banks count your tax returns as real, you know, what you really made and what your business really did. And so they're not, so other sources of information that you give them aren't going to be as credible, and they're not going to focus on it as much as your tax returns. So if you give them the tax returns, then that really gives them what they need to be able to make the right decision. And you know, banks are regulated, so they follow certain rules. So you know, if your business didn't make you know, or if your business made a lot more than is on your tax return, they don't care. They're going by what's on your tax return. So, you know, a lot of business owners sort of can get a little bit creative on their tax return, but then when the time comes for financing, if you're not showing that you made money, why is someone going to lend to a business that's not making money? You know, you could be making as much money as you want, but if you're not making money on your tax return, according to the bank, you're not making money. And, you know, so I'll leave it at that. Take it for what it's worth. If you're in business already, you need to have your financial statements. They're going to want your AR and AP aging. What that means is your accounts receivable and accounts payable. So accounts receivable is money that your customers owe you for your products and services. They're going to want to see what's owed to you and who owes it to you and how long they've owed it to you for. So they're going to want to see that. And then the other thing they're going to want to see is your accounts payable. And that's the opposite. That's your suppliers that you owe. And are you current on your payments to these suppliers? And then they're going to want to see a debt schedule, which lays out, you know, how much money you owe to different sources, your monthly payment, the interest rate, the term, when you started it, and then a list of your assets and your equipment. So things that you have in your business of value. So you got to do all these things to prepare your business for financing. So, so let's take a look in a little more detail. So, you know, when you're keeping financial records, you know, it all starts with accurate financial records. So, you know, from your bank, making sure all your transactions go through your bank account and you're not using cash for a lot of transactions is key. You know, to your financial statements, there's 3 key financial statements you need to have. You need your balance sheet, you need your income statement, you need your cash flow statement. So all 3 of these, the bank is going to want to see your actual statements if you're in business. In addition, they're going to want to see your projections on these. Many business owners don't even know these exist or what they are or what's on them, but that's the language of the bankers and the finance people. So they're going to be looking at these and using that information. So it's important for you to, you know, number 1, have these things. Number 2, have ones that are done well. And even most importantly, understand what's on them, because if you don't understand what's on your financial statements, you kind of don't really understand how your business works. You may know about your products and your customers and your service, but business is about making money. And if you don't understand how your business is making money, why is someone going to give you money to, in order to help your business make more money, when you don't understand how your business makes money? So think about that. So those are important. Your financial statements, you got your balance sheet, you got your income statement, you got your cash flow statement. So all of those. And if if this is new to you, which for many people it might be, you should be taking the business plan course, because I spend a full day, 5 hours going over the financial, the accounting and the financial statements. So definitely, no matter what business you're in, it's your money, it's your business, you're the business owner. So you've got to make sure your financials are together and it makes sense. So, learn about those three. And then I talked about, you want to know what you're going to use the money for. So you've got uses, what are you going to use the money for? And then sources, where you're going to get the money from. So, first thing is you want to figure out what you're going to use the money for and how much money you need. And then based on that, you figure out where you're going to get the money from. So, so let's see. Okay. And then, okay, so that's, when you're thinking about preparing your business, those are the types of things you should be doing. I know I went through them kind of fast, but we got a lot of material to cover, but I want to take any questions you might have on this area. As far as preparing your business, any questions, anything you want to ask, or you want me to go into a little bit more detail on? Okay, so if you guys are good, we'll probably take about 15 more minutes and we'll take a break for 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll take a lunch break. So but as we go, you can also type questions in the chat, and let me know if you're ready to move on, so we can take a look at research. Just type ready in the chat, so I know I'm not here by myself talking to myself. So I appreciate it. Okay, thanks, Karina. Everybody else still here with us as well? Are you guys ready? Okay, great. Thanks, Jewel. Okay. All right. Thanks, Robin. Okay. All right. Great. Thanks. Good. Okay. You're taking notes. Excellent. Yeah. Now we're covering a lot, so it's good to take notes and ask questions as we go. So excellent. Okay. So let's jump back and we'll take a look at research. So, you can see the picture here on research, and it's very difficult to have a good plan or a good strategy if you don't do research. But this picture here is of the financing landscape. And as you can see, there's like 1 million different logos. And each one of those logos is a company that provides financing. So there's so many different companies that provide financing, and they do it on different criteria. They may be looking at specific amount ranges, specific industries, specific sizes of businesses, whether you have employees or not, where you're located, all kinds of stuff. So, one of the things is, there's all these things out there. Where do I go? Where's the right place? If you look at it, you've got crowdfunding. We'll talk about that. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's there. You could go to a financing broker, which is a middleman. You could go to a direct lender. You've got consumer financing. You've got charitable financing. And, you know, if you got, you know, venture capital, private, there's so many different places that provide financing, but each one has a different focus. So that's why research is so important, for you to, you know, understand the type of financing you can get, because there's, you know, lines of credit, there's loans, there's equity, there's equipment financing, there's property financing, there's bridge financing, there's short-term, there's long-term, there's so many different things. So you got to figure out what's the right fit for your business and your need where you are. So that's what research is all about. So, you know, so when you're doing research, but my favorite slide, and I know a lot of people don't, you know, don't like this or don't, but at the end of the day, they're effectively not really grants for small business owners. Like the COVID thing is like an anomaly, but generally as a business owner, don't expect to get any type of grant for your business. Unless you're doing research and you're getting a grant for the research, very unlikely that you're going to get any free money. There's people out there who are going to tell you you can, but they're usually trying to sell you something. Because, you know, from what I've seen, the only things that have done that is sort of the PPP program that they have because of the crisis, and some organizations just because of the crisis, and or a business plan competition. You know, they have business pitching and business plan competitions, which is good. The only thing is you got to work for the money and you might not get it. So it's not really free either. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're having a business, you got to put your money in, and people aren't going to give you money for free for it. So, you know, don't waste your time or theirs. Okay.
You made my heart drop. It's Stacy. I'm sorry. You made my heart drop when that.
I'm sorry.
No grant, and I thought it meant like don't take them. I'm like, what? What is it? But I'm glad once you explained it, I'm like, oh, okay, that made me feel better. But yeah, you just crushed my world.
All right, sorry. Well, you
feel
know,
better now to know, like, don't expect that to be, you know, like 90% of
right.
the funding for the business. Yeah. But when I saw it, I was like, what does he mean? Don't take them. Okay. All right. I'm going.
Okay, no problem. But yeah, no, I mean, definitely not pulling any punches today, but it's important because I got to tell you the truth. It doesn't help for me to tell you that, you know, you're going to get a grant for your business if you won't. It doesn't, you know, you know, getting financing is not easy, and there's things you need to do if you're going to get it, and there's ways that you're going to get it. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, the way things are, is all you got to work with. So, but it's better to find out from me now than to spend 2 years working on a business that you think you're going to get financed, but because of what you did, there wasn't much of a chance that you were going to get financed, and you wasted 2 years and a whole bunch of time and money. So, so let's take a look. So when you have a business, businesses go along a life cycle. You know, as you know, when you're starting out, you have different needs than when you're ongoing, and different needs when you've been in business a long time. So there tends to be a life cycle of how businesses operate. And, you know, based on where you are in the life cycle, different types of financings may be available to you. So, you know, when you're a startup, you know, you have a different type of financings that could be available for you than if you're in the growth phase, which is the next phase. Most small businesses are either in the startup or the rapid growth phase. So, you know, none of you guys are really near the maturity or decline, rebirth, or death stages. So we're really just going to focus on startup and growth phase. Okay. And pretty much all of you are probably still within the startup phase. Even if you've been in business for a while, you're still gaining traction. So, you know, when you're thinking of a startup business, you know, you have a small market. You know, a lot of times you have, you know, you're new, so you've got certain people that are willing to test you out. So you've got early adopters, but you know, you're not mainstream yet. Generally, it's evidenced by you have low sales, but you also don't have a lot of super direct competition because you're kind of too small for a lot of businesses to worry about you. And you know, you're really focused on building awareness and, you know, fine tuning your business model, your products and your services. So that's sort of what a startup business looks like. And then when you look at, okay, well, what does the financing side look like? And, you know, first, like most small businesses, they need more financing. They need more money to invest than they have. And that's common throughout the startup phase. You know, equity financing is great, but you got to give away pieces of your company for it. And the earlier you get the equity financing and the less sales and profits you have when you get it, the more of your company you're giving away for the same amount of equity financing. So the more progress you can make before you take equity, the more your companies you're going to be worth when you take the equity, and the less you have to give up. So even if you want equity, you know, it helps to move further down the cycle. So if you're getting equity before you even have a product or any sales, your company value is a lot lower than if you have a product and you're making sales. So, you know, you want to make it as far as you can and lower the risk of your investors, because then that makes them more likely to invest, and that you'll get better terms when they do invest, and you'll still own more of your company. You know, debt financing is okay, but you got to remember also that your sales and profits are low. So when you take on debt, you have to make the payments. So that's going to subtract out of those. So it makes it more risky. You know, with equity, at least you don't have payments that you have to make every month, but with debt you do. So, and then, you know, when you look at, okay, what drives how much your company's worth? You know, when you're in the startup, you know, you've got potential. You know, you're not necessarily realizing it, but you have potential. And, you know, your product may have promise. And really, it's about whether they trust that you can deliver on what you're trying to do. So, you know, those are the key things that drive the value in a startup business. And the biggest danger is failure, you know, the business failure. And there's a lot of likelihood of failure. You know, if you look at, you know, less than half of businesses make it 5 years. So, you know, when you're talking about startups, there's a lot of risk. And that's why it can be difficult to get a lot of financing. Okay, so let's zero in on startup even more. So, you know, what are the options? So you've got equity and debt. So on the equity side, like I said before, you always start with your personal funds. You got to put your own money in. Sweat equity. Anyone know what that means?
That's actual work.
Okay, so work that you put into your company for free. Important as well. That has a value. So that could be part of your personal investment, but you also have to put personal cash in. And friends and family. You know, those three generally early on are the main ways that you're going to finance your company with equity. You know, you could go beyond that. Some of those other crowdfunding, angel, venture, business plan competition, those are possible. Tend to be a lot less likely, harder to get, and take a lot more time to do. So, you know, really for most businesses, you're talking about personal funds, putting the work in, friends and family. giving you equity. We have some people on here looking at crowdfunding, angel venture capital. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But where you start is personal, sweat equity, friends and family. Okay. So debt, what types of debt as a small business do you have access to? So you may have home equity, that's personal, but it gives you access to cash. Credit cards, they may be personal cards, but if you use them for business, personal loan or line of credit. And that's why I said, before you leave your job, if you're still working, get access to as much credit as you can, because it's going to be harder to go back and get it later, and you're going to wish you had. And then from there, as a startup, you may be able to get trade credit. So what is trade credit? And can anyone tell me what trade credit is? Anybody?
I don't know if it's the same as kind of having a trade line. Like I have accounts with like net 30 accounts. I'm not sure if that's the same in terms of trade credit,
Right.
in terms of like those net 30 and net 60 lines.
That's it, 100%. So basically you get credit from your suppliers. So those are some of the easier financing you can get. And that's, that gives you 30 days financing. Yeah. And the good thing about the trade credit, it usually is free. So they don't charge you interest on it, as long as you pay. But, you got to be real careful and pay, because otherwise they're going to put you on COD. And, that just gives you, hurts your cash flow.
That's the lifeline for me as a young business, is establishing in the industry that I'm in, being able to secure those trade lines. So I haven't maybe been able to get larger lines of credit and loans. My suppliers being able to extend me those terms have helped me be able to get equipment and different stuff. So while they seem minute and not maybe as important, they have really helped in terms of bringing my business along, and has established my business credit to now allow me to start getting some of the credit cards and stuff I couldn't get when I first started the business.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, 100%. I mean, you want your, those are, especially starting out, wherever you can get trade credit, you should get it. Something else that is a great way to finance your business is from customer deposits. I've got a client who people order computers from, but they pay in advance. So, basically they've got like over $100,000 worth of money from customers that they haven't shipped their computers to yet. So that's financing. That's financing that you don't have to get from another source. So, different businesses, you might be able to get paid up front, and that'll reduce your need for financing from somewhere else. And it's a lot easier to get that type of financing because you don't have to apply for it. All you got to do is make the sales and get them to pay. As a small business, you want to look at micro lenders. So that's something else to look at as well. Let's see. So you want to look at those. I see there's a couple hands raised. Let me just get through this slide and then I'll answer more questions. So, micro lenders are set up to really work with small businesses. They lend up to $50,000, but their specialty is really lending up to $10,000. So if you're looking for $10,000 or less, you definitely want to go through a micro lender. Most of them are nonprofit. So, they're a lot easier to work with and a lot more flexible than working with a bank. Their interest rate may be a little higher though, but You know, it's not higher if you can't get it from the bank and you could get it from them. It doesn't matter if it's higher. So, you know, micro lenders are a good place. SBA loan, you know, if you're looking for a larger loan, maybe an SBA loan might be right. You know, there's different types of SBA loans. There's one specifically for if you're buying property or real estate that your business is going to be in and using more than 50% of the space. That's the loan where you can actually, you only have to put 10% down, which is amazing. And plus they'll roll in your construction expenses. So if you got renovations and all, they'll roll that into the loan as well. So, you know, so definitely the SBA is helpful. So with the real estate loan, the 10% down on their regular loans, I think generally you want to try and put 20% down, but you can go up to, you know, millions of dollars, but you just got to remember you got to put 20% of it down as your, and you know, what the SBA does is the SBA does not loan you the money, but what they do, they call it an SBA loan because the SBA guarantees the money. So what happens is you go to the bank and you apply, and generally if you're early in stage, you're really way riskier than the bank would ever consider doing. But because of the SBA will guarantee the loan in case you don't pay it back. So the SBA is sort of like insurance that, you know, helps the bank be willing to finance you because it lowers the bank's risk. So you can get an SBA loan from most banks, are able to provide them. Some do a better job than others. But what the SBA does is, you know, helps position it so that you can actually get financing from a bank, because otherwise the bank wouldn't do that. You know, there's restrictions and there's a fee, because it's sort of a fee for the insurance to cover the risk of your loan. So, but startups and early on businesses, you may not be able to get a regular loan, but you could possibly get an SBA loan. And generally SBA loans are good because, you know, number one, you're more likely to be able to get it. Number two, with the SBA loan, they set it up so that you can potentially get more money with the SBA loan than you'd be able to get with a regular loan with the same situation. Plus the interest rates are usually real good, and you'll get a longer loan term so that your monthly payments are lower. So that's sort of, you know, where the SBA loan fits. Also, equipment financing. If you're buying equipment, then you're really financing it as collateral. So as a result, it's easier to finance equipment because they have a collateral. So if the loan goes bad, they have something to go back after. So equipment loan can be a fair amount easier to get. So either from, you know, first place to look is whoever's selling you the equipment, because, you know, they want to sell the equipment, so they may be willing to finance you with better terms. And, you know, even banks, and, you know, will do a much better job on equipment financing in terms of making it easier to get access to equipment financing, and also giving you great interest rates on it. So, and then finally a mortgage. You know, if you have a property that you're looking to get, you know, getting a mortgage, you're buying property, so there's collateral, so it's a little easier to get financed. So for a startup, these are really what's available to you in most cases. So, you know, hopefully that's helpful. I think that applies to pretty much everybody who's on the call today. And, you know, but also depending if you're in growth phase, these are some of the other things that, you know, some additional things that you can have access to. And let me take a quick break, and we got a few questions, and also, so let's take a look. Okay, is this live? Yes, we're live, Stacy. All right, I can't see anyone. Okay, and the panel's not showing. Hopefully, this panel showing now? Because I've been switching back and forth from the slides to the panel. Let's see. Okay, we've got a few questions. Okay. So we talked about trade credit. Are there veterans loans for the business? Great question. I'm a veteran as well. So there can be an advantage of being a veteran. But many times, like the SBA has, special veteran type programs, but generally being a veteran isn't going to make it more likely you get the loan. It might allow you to get a better interest rate or better terms, but you still have to qualify for the loan. But definitely being a veteran doesn't hurt. It's not like the VA home loan where if you're a veteran, pretty much you can get a VA home loan. As a business owner, you still got to do everything any other business owner has to do. But if you're a veteran, thanks for your service. I actually was a naval officer back in the day. So yeah, but definitely being a veteran is positive. And the other thing is, as a veteran, there's Veterans Chambers of Commerce, which are helpful. You can be a veteran supplier, which can be helpful in getting contracts. So there's other ways that being a veteran can be helpful, but it's unlikely you're going to get any financing you wouldn't get otherwise by being a veteran. You might just get better terms. And then also there are some business plan competitions that are just for veterans. So you've got that as well. So yeah, definitely being a veteran can be helpful as a business owner. What's the best place to get an SBA loan? So, if you're looking at an SBA loan, where's the best place to get it? Generally, the best place is, is a bank. It's nice to get it from your bank if you can, because they already know you and they already have your financial information, so you're not starting from zero with them. But there's certain banks that are preferred SBA lenders, so you can look that up on the SBA site. And that means they do a lot more SBA loans and they're able to streamline the process some. So, and that they're, more qualified, because some banks don't do a lot of SBA loans. So they're not as efficient at being able to do it and aren't as up to date on everything with it. So, but with everything, I recommend don't only just go to one place and put all your eggs in one basket for your financing. You want to go to different places and have them be able to have options. So so yeah, but do your research. Make sure that the bank is interested in doing an SBA loan, and you've got bank branch managers who really their job is just to bring in business. So they're going to tell you that they're going to finance you or they want to, but until you start talking to a real bank loan officer or business banker, that'll really tell you a little bit more about your potential chances and their interest in trying to work with you to get you financing. Okay. I did glaze over crowdfunding, and I guess I'll say a little bit more about it. As I mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of crowdfunding, but it has worked for some people. But generally, most people who get crowdfunding barely get $1,000. You always see the ones where people got 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, but very rarely does anyone get more than $1,000. And not only that, generally to get crowdfunding, you're getting crowdfunding from your network. You have to market it, to people. So, it could be a way to ask people to help fund your business or invest in you without having to do it personally, or asking people to do a small amount for you personally, or letting people know what you're doing and give them a way to support you. The other way is you can use that. Some people that do crowdfunding use it as a way to sell their products and get funding at the same time. So it's more of a sales strategy as opposed to just getting financing for your business. So crowdfunding can be done. Generally not a lot of money is raised in most cases. Takes a lot of time because you got to do the video, you got to market it, you got to write it up. You know, there's just a lot, you know, I'm not a big fan. You know, one thing is because time is money. So, you know, the time you're doing that, you could be doing other stuff. And if you're not going to get a lot of money, then, you know, it might not be the best way to go. So, but crowdfunding is out there. And it is an option. It depends on your specific case. I've worked with a few people on crowdfunding, but, you know, in many cases, I find that, you know, it's more work than it's worth. So, and, you know, if you're looking for small dollars, then you're okay. Let's see, how long should you wait to purchase a home before applying for capital? Okay, next. So when you're applying for capital, you know, if you're buying your own home, you know, you just got to look at your cash flow. Does your cash flow support it? So are you making enough cash to pay for the home? And then also it puts you in debt, so that can impact your credit, whether positive or negative, because of financing. So once you start getting into investment properties, it makes things very complex and usually hurts you when you're trying to get financing for a business when you have investment property. I have several, and it just makes everything so much harder because you got to not only put all your personal information, all your business information, you got to put everything about the investment properties, and then they don't give you credit for a lot of things on the investment properties, but they also count the payments and other stuff against you. So, you know, I'd say all things being equal, if you need to get business financing, you know, get it before you get your investment property. But, you know, every case is individual. So, so hopefully that's helpful. You know, based on what I'm seeing, that's what I would recommend. Okay, so let's see where we are. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. Yes, can you hear me? Everybody still there?
We're here.
Okay, you're here? Okay, great, great. Okay, so yeah, you got to unmute if you want me to hear you. But okay, so what we'll do, are there any other questions now? Okay, if not, what we can do is we'll take a break for lunch, and then what we'll do is when we come back, we'll take a look at, you know, angel investors, venture capital, startup investment strategies,
Yes.
the SBA loan program in more detail. And then we're going to talk about assembling documents and yielding, and how the bank or investor is going to look at your application. So, okay. So yeah, so let's take a break. It's like 5 minutes to 12. So let's take a look at startup investment stages. So, okay. So, when you're thinking of starting up your business, there's a few things, there's a sort of a path that it's going to take. The first piece is, you're going to start up, your concept, your business idea. So, everybody's there. Then you got to think through your product or service and really design that and develop that. And then depending, you may need to build a prototype or be able to demonstrate it. And from there, then you want to get early adopters or people, first users, so you can demonstrate it. And then that's usually a better place to start looking for investors once you've gotten to that stage. Of course, certain types of businesses, you may need financing earlier, but before you get to that stage, you're going to give up an awful lot of your company if you're not able to get there. So when you're looking at financing, like I was saying before, the earlier you get financing, especially in terms of equity, the more it costs you. And it doesn't just cost you then, it costs you for the life of your business. So, some of you were looking at, okay, well, I want to maybe get angel investor or venture capitalist financing. And, they do financing, but it's extremely popular, and it seems like the more businesses get financing that way than they really do. So, there's certain things that these types of investors are looking for, and certain profiles. Like I said, we're doing the research, figuring out what type of investor is the right type of investor or lender to your business. So when you're dealing with the angel investor, first, what is an angel investor? Usually it's an individual or group of individuals that have gotten together to make investments. Now, when you're dealing with angel investors, their investing is not their full-time job. They actually many times have a job, but they don't spend all their time focused on investing. And, their goal isn't to really help you run your business, but to invest in your business to make money. A lot of times they might invest because they're interested in your product. And they're more willing to invest in the long term. And, and generally their investments are less than $1 million. But they're great investments if you can get them, because generally you can get some decent money, equity, and also at the same time, they're not trying to tell you how to run your business, and they're not going to try and take every money and profit as they can out of your business. Now, on the other hand, venture capitalists, they're really an investment company. So their goal is they're only there to make as much money as they can for themselves. And if your business is the right vehicle to do that, then they're open to investing. Generally, they're only going to look at investments over $1 million each. They're going to be very professional. They're going to want to be on your board and have input in telling you what to do. They may want to, play a larger role within working or having, within the company and making decisions. So, that's important to know. The most important thing to them is how fast you can scale and grow. And they want a really large investment. So they're looking for, within the next 5 years, they might want like a 5 times or 10 times their investment. So think about it. If they give you $1 million, within 5 years, they're going to want to get $5 million out of the business. So is your business a business that can sustain that? And the only way it can do that is if it grows significantly. So, venture capital, it's not for all business, not for most business. Not a lot of businesses can grow like that. So, understanding whether your business is a venture capital type, if you only need $100,000, you're you're wasting your time looking for venture capital because that's not what they do. So, you know, understanding the profile, who they are, what they're looking for in terms of types of businesses, amounts of money. You know, a lot of times angel investors like businesses that, you know, many times they're like doctors or groups of doctors or groups of attorneys. So they like to invest in things that they know. So, you know, doctors, you know, understand the medical industry better. So if you have some type of product or service within the medical industry, it's more likely that they would be interested in investing in you. But there's all kinds of different angel investor groups with different focuses. But at the end of the day, they generally try and invest in things that they know and understand. Venture capital, since they're looking for such things that are so scalable and they need to be extremely profitable, they tend to focus on technology, healthcare, media, and entertainment. You know, those are four of the big areas where they invest, but they invest beyond that too. But, you know, your company has to be able to grow in sales like 10 times where it is when they invest. So, you know, that gives you some insight into whether you should even be thinking about either of these. And it's just as important to, you know, just as important or even more important to, you know, single out who you know definitely won't be financing you as it is to try and figure out who will, because that sort of narrows down the scope. So, so that's really what venture capital and angel investors are like. We talked a little bit about the SBA loans, and we said that the SBA financing, the SBA doesn't give you the loan. The SBA actually guarantees the loan. And what they do is their guarantees allows the banks to be more comfortable lending to you, because if you don't pay them back, the SBA will pay them back a certain percentage of the loan. So, you know, so when they do that, it lowers the risk. So then the bank's more willing to lend to you, and they are also more willing to lend to you at a better rate and better terms, meaning lower interest rate. Maybe instead of a 7-year amortization, it'll be a 10-year loan. So then your payment will be lower. So, you know, all these things make a difference, but SBA loan programs are great because, you know, a lot of small businesses wouldn't be getting financed if it wasn't for the SBA loan program. And, you know, you'll know from your banker, you know, usually if you're looking to get financing, your banker will tell them whether it looks more like an SBA loan or one of their standard loans. But usually as a small business, a startup, unless you have, you know, a lot of revenues and cash flow, you're probably looking at an SBA loan from the bank. You know, they have Express and Advantage loans. So SBA program 7A goes up to many millions of dollars, but they have I think it goes up to 5 million that you can borrow. But the Express and Advantage loans, you know, you're able to get those faster, and the amount borrowed maximum is a lot lower. I think now it's like $350,000. So loans under $350,000, they can do quicker and easier. And then also they have like a Veterans Advantage loan. So, you know, one of the veterans plans is through that. They also have capital lines, and they do loans through development company, you know, certified development companies. So that's other nonprofits that are local that that will do the loans, but they support them. Also, a lot of micro lenders, they get support through the Small Business Administration through the SBA. So, you know, the SBA has a lot of different types of loans, and then they also have, you know, the real estate loan. So, so there's definitely a lot of options, and, you know, when you're starting out, that's a good place to start. Any questions on the research that you need to do for getting the financing? Okay.
Hi, Stacey, I have a question.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay, your question?
For
Okay, you're not coming through, not hearing you, but I see you got something in the chat. We talked about, would this be friendly and family and friends? Yeah, Stacy, I'm not seeing you muted. I'm seeing you as unmuted. So maybe it's a problem with the microphone. So would this be family and friends? So, pretty much, angel investors know that would be beyond family and friends, but you've got, your family and friends would be, like we said, you're the first investor, your sweat equity is the second, and family and friends are a good third spot to start with. But family and friends could be anywhere from $100 to $100,000, depending on their interest, their financial position, and their willingness to work with you. And a lot of times, family and friends will just invest in you without having to go through all your business plans, and a lot of the decision is whether they trust you, like you, and want to support what you're doing, which is great. The bad thing is, you got to be really careful about when you have that. You don't want to disappoint them when you have their funds, because definitely I've seen firsthand how business not working out as planned can hurt family and friend relationships. So it's good because it's usually easier to get the money from them and quicker. It's bad because if it doesn't work out, they were friends and family, and you have relationships with them that could be damaged. So you got to keep that in mind both ways. And the best way to make sure that the family and friend thing goes okay is to put everything in writing and be really clear about their expectations of what they're going to get back, when they're going to get back, how much they're going to get back, understanding whether it's a loan or a equity investment. So whether they're understanding that if the business doesn't work, they're not going to get paid back, whether they're expecting to get paid back based on how well the business does versus, so definitely, okay. So definitely, when you're doing your family and friends, that's important. Let's see. I see another question. Stacy, you said your internet went out. So, a lot of times you can get an SBA loan for 10 years, whereas most other loans, you're only going to get a 7-year amortization. So that means that a lot of times the SBA loan payment is going to be less, which reduces your burden and the risk of having to make these payments every month up until it's paid off. So, and also I think you can pay off an SBA loan early without any penalties. So, that's what we're seeing there. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else we want to chat about with this? The next part we're going to look at is assembling. Before we do that, any final questions on research and looking at your business? Actually, we have a fairly small group here, so why don't we talk a little bit about each of your specific ones, and then that'll give you some insight into exactly specifically what type of financing might be best for you. Anyone want to start? We got Shirley, Karima, Sade. Any of you guys want to talk a little bit about your business and the financing you're seeking, and discuss what might be the best sources?
I guess I'll start.
Okay.
I am right now. I've been looking for financing for additional vehicles. Again, I do interior and exterior property cleaning. And what I've noticed since COVID is that there's been a market for like COVID cleaning, COVID disinfecting, sanitizing, and it's created what I'll say even to preference all of the rest of what I'm about to say. One of the things that I learned yesterday when you was going through when you were going through your different slides and you were talking, one of the things that you said that was really important is it was the discussion in one of the videos that you show about if you should, when you're deciding to add a new service or when you're deciding to do something new at a business, who is the best person to make the decision? And I've always inherently thought me, the business owner, and not looking at it through an accounting perspective. Like, no, you should do the numbers, look at what makes sense, and decide whether or not to add a service isn't going to hurt your business the way you talked about your friend who has the landscaping business. And this is kind of similar in the sense because in the services that we do provide in the property cleaning, the bulk of my revenue come in from exterior property cleaning. We do snow removal. We do some landscaping. And then the other is kind of the rest of it is in terms of kind of my biggest customer, my largest customer is property management companies. So I'll have one customer who has a host of properties, and I'm doing maybe one property management company who maybe have 50 properties. So that's my business. And in the way I operate, now that I'm picking up kind of more of the COVID cleaning, I don't have enough vehicles to service everybody in the course of to get my guys everywhere, to get everybody who needs to be service. So I've been looking at purchasing additional vehicles at this point. What I've been coming into, or what I've been finding, is that I don't see a lot of companies that, like, I haven't been able to find where I can go to a dealership and say, hey, this is X business, this is my financials, this is what it is, and I want to finance a vehicle. I either have to go do it through, or they want me to look at it and make the purchase through my own, through my personal credit, and just have the vehicle in my name, which is not helpful to me. Or I've been finding fleet leasing companies where I would lease a fleet of vehicles, and usually those companies, they're looking for you to lease a big fleet of vehicles, like more than 5 vehicles at a time. And I'm only looking right now to purchase possibly 2. So I'm stuck in terms of where I should be looking at. I haven't done the numbers in terms of what I learned yesterday to even make a decision if it's best to buy the vehicles and to push the COVID cleaning. Even though we do interior cleaning, I had to purchase additional equipment. There's the regular foggers that do regular sanitizing, but I went out and purchased additional electrostatic sprayers that are specific to this type of cleaning. So as I've already kind of rolled myself into it, yesterday gave me a caution that was like, oops, I didn't do those things, and I've already started kind of going to move forward in those services. I've taken contracts already, and now I have more jobs that I need to do then I have the manpower or the vehicles to send them out to do it.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, so you've got a lot of things going on, like many business owners. I mean, the good thing is that your business is growing. So, you know, if you're taking out money, you know, it's important to have your business grow so you be growing and be able to pay it back and make more money. A lot of times when you're buying a vehicle, a lot of times I recommend leasing versus buying. Number one, usually the lease payment's a little bit lower, and cash flow is very important. And number two, it works out better from an accounting and tax standpoint if you lease, in most cases. So, you know, so looking at leasing is probably the way to go. Plus, you know, you may not want to keep the same vehicle more than a period of time. So it sort of gives you, you know, access to something you need, but it doesn't lock you in and it doesn't tie up your capital or your credit.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's the first thing I think of when leasing, but whenever you spend some money, it's an investment. So, you know, if you're going to get another vehicle, what's going to happen as a result? You know, how much more money are you going to bring in as a result? You know, it doesn't make sense to just do more and more work if it's not more profitable work. So,
Right.
you know, and same with the sprayers. So, you know, you're buying the new equipment. Okay, does that mean you can charge more for what you're doing? Does that allow you to get more customers and make more money? You know, just because it would be good to have the equipment doesn't mean it makes sense to get it if you're not going to make any more money because of it.
Right. And that's what I realized yesterday after you were talking, and is that I kind of went into it backwards. So I got inundated by COVID-19 cleaning calls. I felt like we should have the sprayers. We do interior cleaning, and we do sanitizing and disinfecting, and it just immediately made sense to me. But after we went through a lot of the stuff yesterday, I realized that I went into it backwards, and I should have done that financial piece and that accounting piece rather, and kind of looked at what it would mean in terms of the purchase of those sprayers, in terms of the additional manpower I need to put on it, all the things we talked about in terms of seeing whether or not doing specific COVID cleaning was something that I should add to the business. But I got excited by the opportunity and all the calls, and I started taking contracts and started doing it before I did that. So that's where I found myself having these customers who are ready to go, and now my routes and everything are already set for the other services, and I don't have really open vehicles to do it, and I haven't been immediately finding companies that do commercial leasing to small businesses like mine. So I've been finding things on companies online that do larger leasing for like whole fleets. And
Right.
I'm not at that stage yet where I'm ready to buy an entire fleet of vehicles.
Right. So you got to do it, you know, on an individual basis, but that's okay because they're going to make you do that anyways as a small business.
And now that I've done it backwards and didn't do those steps first, as I'm moving forward, do you recommend anything besides what I've been doing yesterday and this morning is putting those financials together and doing it now, even though I didn't do it? But I guess besides that, now that I've kind of pulled myself in it, I purchased the sprayers already. Is there something that you would recommend for me to maybe do or watch out for, that I've added a new service before I've done those things?
Well, you know, if you have contracts, you got to deliver on them.
Right.
So, but what you want to do is you want to keep an eye on how much you're investing and making sure you're charging for it. So, and then you just want to look at it. You know, how much more are my sales going up?
Gotcha.
because of this. Charging this much for it, how much extra does it cost me to do it? And at least you're in a better position than many people, because many people go out there and buy the stuff before they even have the contracts or sales. And if you do that without planning, that means you just got a lot more, spend a lot of money, and you don't know if you're ever going to make any return on it.
Right.
At least you have some contracts and sales to deliver on where people are going to pay you. The question is, are they going to pay you enough extra that it's worth it?
Right.
But you got to, once you do the contract, you got to do it. And sometimes you invest, to grow. Sometimes you have to invest money, and the hardest part of growing is getting the customers. So if you've got contracts and other stuff, that you're in a good spot, and then you can always make adjustments as you go.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I hope that's helpful. Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else want to chat about their business specifically? Okay. Free opportunity. But we'll have more time as well. Okay. Actually, I see some Actually, I do have some questions. I'm not sure why, but I'm not seeing everybody who's in the chat on the.
Can you hear me?
So let me just pull up. Let me put my glasses on so I can see. So from Robin, it says, if someone's putting equity into your business, how do you value your business to determine what percentage equity is equivalent to? Great question. Valuation is both an art and a science. So, different people are going to look at the same situation different ways, even though they have the same information. So there's no exact value of a business, and it's also a value based on who's looking to make the investment. So if you think of like selling a house, the same house could be worth $100,000 to somebody, but it may be worth $150,000 to somebody else. And the reasons might be, preferences on school, the type of house, where it's located. All these different things mean more or less to other people. Same as your business. Some people might like your business because the type of business it is. So some people might want to invest your business because it matches up with the business they have strategically. So they may look at it even more. And let's see. So you've got a lot of different, options as far as it, but, for the most part, when you think of valuation, your value is based on your profits. So on a certain level, if you're not making any profits, your business kind of isn't worth anything. But there's other things that impact value, but your profitability is very important. So maximizing your profits is important. Your growth rate is important. So the earlier on you are, the less profits you have, the less revenues you have, the less growth rate you have, the less your business is worth. So, so it's not an easy question to answer, and pretty much, have to look at the specific individual situation in terms of, how much a business could be worth. So hopefully that kind of gives you some ideas on that. Hit me back in the questions or the chat if you want me to go into it a little more detail. And then let's see. Okay. So then Stacy says you're gonna need laptops and other stuff for your business. Computers you kind of have to buy. So yeah, you don't really need to lease a computer because it's, just, they're not that expensive. Now, and you know, you can get financing from places like Best Buy or other places that will finance you a lot easier than trying to get a bank loan or something like that. One thing I caution is you don't really want to invest a lot of money before you need to invest a lot of money. So, you know, it's not necessarily good to invest in things that you think are going to happen that might not materialize. So, you know, for example, if it looks like you think you might be getting a customer that you need another vehicle for, but you don't know, it's usually not a good idea to buy the extra vehicle before you know you have a customer, because if it doesn't come together, is that vehicle going to be worth having? And also the same thing goes for employees and staff. In most cases, you really don't want to hire people or staff or employees that you can't afford based on what your business is doing now. So, you know, you don't want to hire people based on what your business might be doing, especially if you're having to borrow money to do it. Like if you have the money, then you can put your own money towards it, but you really want to be careful about borrowing money for things that may or may not materialize, because whether or not it materializes, you still got to pay it back. And, you know, so, you know, definitely you want to look at that as well. So, so hopefully that's helpful. Let's see. I'm going to need laptops. Left the meeting, coming back. Okay. Yeah, it looks like there's some issues with the audio and other stuff. So yeah, if you can actually, if you put the questions in the Q&A, that's even better, because then I know specifically it's a question. And you know, we'll continue. But if anyone else wants to either come in automatically if you can, or if not, through the Q&A, just ask a question, feel free to. And you know, we'll continue on, talk about assembling, and then we'll take Q&A after that as well. So, okay, and let's see, I guess, you know, Shade said something about, okay, needing money for payroll. And, you know, a lot of times, sometimes you need money for payroll. You know, the big thing is, if you need money for payroll all the time, then that's a problem, because, you know, generally you want your business to be able to run well enough so that you can afford to pay the people on payroll. There's always ups and downs and times when you made sales, but you haven't been paid for them, or you just bought a lot of inventory where you need cash. But if under a normal course of business, your business isn't making enough money to support the employees you have, then you probably are paying too much or paying too many people. So you want to look at that as well. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So I have something from Stacy. Okay, I don't know how to adjust. I can't necessarily adjust stuff on the thing, because I think I'm just a co-host and Priscilla does the main coast. But I'll do what I can. Got a question here from Karima. Do you recommend a certain payroll company for small business? Use Gusto. Is that good? I'm not familiar with Gusto, but you know, there's a lot of good companies out there, and you know, generally as a small business owner, a lot of times the smaller payroll companies can be more cost effective and provide better customer service to you. But you know, it all depends, and sometimes when you're starting out, it doesn't hurt to you know, you could do your own payroll or have your accountant or bookkeeper do your payroll also. So you know, there's a lot of different options out there. But, look at the cost and the pricing. Look at how many people you need payroll for. If it's just you and your business and you're not a corporation, then you're better off not doing a payroll for yourself and just taking, owner draws. So, it sort of depends. And that's one of the reasons why SBDC allows you to set up a individual call. So you can talk one-on-one with someone about some specifics for your business. So let's see. Okay. From my end, people are able to get off mute, but for some reason, I'm not seeing most of the people here. Priscilla, are you on?
Yes.
Priscilla, can you, because I'm only seeing there's like 4 people on, but I'm getting messages from a lot of people who aren't showing on. Can you see everybody? Okay. All right, great. So we had some questions. Anybody else have a question or wanted to chat now that I can hear you?
Yes, Jewel here
Okay.
from Gratitude Griot LLC. So for me, I know COVID is a unique situation, but I was able to get quite a bit of grant funding during COVID that it actually increased my business revenue for this year 300%. And so to your point, now it seems like would be the time to apply for different financing and funding. Although, like many people on the call, for the first 3 years I was in business, I was bootstrapping and financing my own business. So that had an impact on my personal credit and finances. And so I'm not at the point, I believe it was the 660 was the credit score that you said was most ideal. So I'm not there yet and working towards getting back up to that credit score. But in the meantime, I've been reaching out to micro lenders like Greater Newark Enterprises Corporation and researching crowdfunding opportunities. I know in your own personal opinion, crowdfunding is not the best, but in reality, women in business do not get the same level of funding, whether it's venture capital funding or funding from banks, that men in business do. And with crowdfunding, the playing field is a bit more level for us. And so I'm looking pretty much between crowdfunding and micro lenders.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you can recommend where I'm at right now currently and where I'm trying to go?
How much money are you looking for?
About $50,000.
About 50?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a pretty uphill crowd fund.
Well, between crowdfunding and micro lending, I wouldn't be trying to get it all out of crowdfunding. I mean, I've seen many successful campaigns of Black women in particular who have gotten that much and more in crowdfunding. So I'm not so sure. Maybe your personal bias is skewing your vision of crowdfunding a little bit, but I've seen it become very successful, and it's particularly for women in business and women of color in business.
Right, and if they have a lot of rich friends, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, I'm not saying these are like regular women like me who are in cities like Newark. Like it's not people who are millionaires already, who have gone viral on social media or anything like that. It is just regular women in business, very much like myself. So I'm not seeing the difference between them and me and being able to be successful in crowdfunding.
Well, I mean, definitely go for it. I'm not against trying anything. Learn what you can from them, because if they have a secret and it helps you, it's good. So okay, so that's cool. So yeah, so you got so it looks like you got to think about how much you're looking for. So you're in the micro lender, you're at the edge of the micro lender, because usually like they really want to lend you 10,000 or less, and they'll do that real easy and real quick. Over that, it takes them a little more time to get all the approvals, and they have a lot more scrutiny on it. But they'll do some loans that banks won't. So it's important to look at different things. Okay, great. No, I appreciate it. Anyone else have any?
So there was a question in that too, though.
Okay, so what was the question?
So perhaps you missed the question. So what, would you recommend other than micro lending and crowdfunding as options for me, someone who does not have a 660 credit score?
Okay. Well, if your business is making money and making enough money, you could possibly maybe do a SBA loan through a bank, maybe. But you really want to try and have at least this, you said you're back to the 660 range, so they might still do it below that. A lot of stuff beyond that is like payday loans and the things that are charging like 30%. And you really don't want to get into that situation, because that just takes a bad situation and makes it worse. Because then they're taking money out of your account every day. So like, I guess PayPal has one and others. But if you've been in business for over a year and you didn't apply for the EIDL or the economic
Yes, of course.
disaster loan?
Yes, of course. I applied for all of that as soon as
Okay.
I'm eligible, and that's part of the grant funding that has increased my revenue 300%.
Right, but also they've got a loan component that you can take a loan from that, and it's like the best loan you would ever get in terms of terms and everything. So if you're looking for financing and you haven't done that yet, and you were in business like all of 2019,
yes, I have.
That might be worth looking at.
Yeah, so everything with the SBA that I've been eligible for, I have applied for. Yes.
Okay, so you sounds like you've done most of what you can do. Maybe find some extra friends and family, might be able to do something for you as well. But you're pretty much doing what's available to you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, you are.
What do you think about cabbage?
Cabbage for business loan or cabbage for the PPP?
Business loan.
It can't hurt. I don't know that platform for business loans that well, so I can't say for sure, but you do want to be careful of the lenders that are going to make you pay every day or every week, and you want to be real careful about what the rate is you pay, because sometimes they'll try and confuse it and say, oh, it's only like 0.5% per day.
Per day. Ooh.
Because they don't want you to realize how much it is per month.
Yeah.
So you want to just be real clear on how they try it. Just like car dealers, they don't want they don't try to sell you on the price. They say, well, how much of a payment can you afford?
Right.
So that they sort of focus on
how they can make the most money out of what you
yeah. And so you just got to be real careful and understand the details of what you're getting into. But it doesn't hurt. Just you probably want to, when you're working with these guys, you don't want them to pull your credit a million times. So you want to get clarity around whether they're pulling your credit or not, to give you this information, or whether you can get info without your credit being pulled, or maybe you can pull your credit and give it to them rather than have them pull it and count against you.
Can I ask one last question?
Sure.
What does it look like for a business to work with you? Like, what direct work do you do with small businesses?
I do coaching and consulting, work with them directly, but it's better to work with me through the SBDC because they cover part of it. And, I do, work with people on financing, coaching, helping them grow. But, most stuff that a small business owner would need, I'll usually be able to help them or, have someone in my network that can help them.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, cool. So this has been.
Oops, sorry.
Yes.
Hey, Celia, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about also investors as opposed to and borrowing money?
Wait, so what kind of investors?
Like if I would like to open a lab, so
Okay.
what do you advise about, finding investors that are willing to invest and help the business grow as opposed to borrowing money?
I mean, definitely on larger projects, it makes sense to have, have a team, especially if you need a lot of money or whatever, but also it brings expertise and bandwidth because, but you got to find people that you're willing to work with and you can. And you got to set up a agreement and a situation that's a win-win.
Right.
So, being as clear as possible about documents and what you're agreeing to and what everybody's responsibilities are critical.
Well, my thing would be not necessarily them investing in being owner or have any percentage, but just them saying, all right, you invest 80%, invest $80,000 and you get 11% return on your money.
Okay, so it's like a loan.
Right.
Okay.
So as opposed to borrowing, this person is like, okay, I can invest in that,
Well, it's the same thing effectively. It's borrowing's borrowing. If you can get someone to do it quicker and easier, that's always good. Whoever's going to give you the best terms.
Okay. But the person does have experience in that industry, and so I was just thinking, they would also bring their expertise and saying, okay, and they'll know that it'll work because they will be bringing their expertise and making sure that the company does.
But they're usually not going to want to lend you money if they're going to be bringing expertise and working with you.
Well, not necessarily working with me, but they've helped people start up labs. You know what I mean? So it's not that they would be doing any work, but they just know that they want to invest the money and lend the money. So that's why I was asking you about that, as opposed to, is it safe? Would you go ahead with getting it from a bank or investors? In your experience, what would you recommend?
It doesn't matter where you get it from. It really matters what the terms are.
Okay.
So, it's a question of, is it enough money? Is the rate okay? Is the payback time period okay? Is the monthly payment okay? As opposed to who's specifically giving it to you, unless you're working with the mafia, because then
no,
they might want more later, or if you don't make it.
I like my fingers on my toes. No.
So, other than that, it's really just about getting the best deal for you and for your business.
Okay.
So, cool. Okay. Great. No, great questions. Great discussion. Let me go through the next section. So let's go back and talk about assembling. So we talked about preparing. We talked about researching. The next step is assembling. So, when you're doing financing, there's like a lot of things that they're going to ask from you. So there's a lot of documents to assemble. So usually there's pretty similar, so that if you so that you can know now what they're going to ask for you so that you can already prepare it before they ask. And also you can look at what those documents are saying. If you have time to, make adjustments to your business or whatever, so that your numbers come together better, it's helpful. So when you're talking about assembling documents, these are some of the things that they're always going to ask you for. Initially, they're usually going to ask you for your tax returns, both business and personal. They're going to ask you for your financial statements year to date. They're most likely going to ask you for your personal financial statement, which we talked about before. Also, your accounts receivable aging and a debt schedule. Plus, they're going to want to know about your business plans, a summary of your business plan. So those are some things that most places are going to ask you for no matter what initially. So since you know that, you want to have those things ready. So if generally the way it goes is you talk to the banker, you tell them what you're looking for. They say, okay, well, this might be of interest to us, but I need you to send us some information. This stuff under initial is what they're going to ask you for. So rather than getting that and not having this stuff together and sending them the information over the next 2 weeks, since you know what you need, having it together and just getting it back to them the next day makes a big difference in terms of how professional you are, how credible you are, how serious you are, how likely to succeed that you are. So this is one way being prepared can help you significantly. One of the biggest reasons why a lot of businesses don't get financing is they never get all the documents in. So if you don't get every single document in, they're not going to go review your loan application. They're just going to have it sitting there. So understanding the documents, assembling the documents, you need to know what, knowing what you need to have and starting to prepare them and knowing how to prepare them and get them quickly when they're asked for is key for financing in terms of, increasing your credibility, increasing your likelihood, but also increasing the speed, because every time they're waiting for something from you, that's another day that it's going to take before you can get financing. So you could make your financing process go 2 weeks, a month, 2 months longer just because you haven't put the returns in. And usually if you are missing documents, they're just going to put you on the corner of the desk and move other people ahead of you. So, having your documents, assembling them, putting them together. Secondarily, before they finance you, they're gonna want your bank statements. They're gonna want, your equipment. They're gonna want to know more about you and your bio, and just a lot more about your business. So all these things you can work on now, even if you're not looking for financing, because it's good to have these anyways. And then when you're looking for financing, you can already have your documents together. So that's really the documents. Let me go to the next one also, and then we'll go back to questions. And finally, yield. So we talked about prepare, research, assemble, and yield. So what does it really mean to yield? You've seen the yield sign on the road. So when you see that yield sign on the road, what does it mean? Anybody tell me what that means?
Slow down.
Pause. Let others go first.
Let others lead.
Right.
So you can go, but if there's someone who's there at the same time, they get to go, or they get to. So once you've got all your documents in, and you go through the underwriting process, they're reviewing and deciding if they're going to give you the loan. You're just in a waiting game. You have to wait and just react to any requests they have. other than that, most other things you're going to do are actually going to hurt you rather than help you. You know, if you're going to bug them about how quickly the loan's going to get done, that's not going to help your situation. If you're going to complain about them wanting another document, even though that you gave it to them, that's not going to help your situation, because they're going to hold things up, even if you gave it to them before, if they don't see that they have it. So you're really on their court, and you have to, you know, work with the underwriter, with the investor, so that they can do their due diligence and do their underwriting and make their decision. And, you know, a lot of times they'll want a lot of stuff, and you want to turn it around quickly, because, you know, they're going to move based on how you move. And a lot of times, if, you know, if they ask you for something, they're not going to move forward anymore with your package until they get it. So, you know, the yielding process, and I don't know if some of you probably gotten mortgages before, but you know, it's a little bit like the mortgage process. It's really painful, and they ask you for a whole bunch of stuff, and it seems like they could get you the money sooner, but it always takes longer, and different stuff comes up. But then one day you get financed and you get your mortgage. A lot of times, same with the business. But at any point up until the final day when they put the money in your account, you don't have it, and you won't necessarily get it. So you know, it's like, you don't have financing until the money's in your bank. So now, when you look at the financing process, there's a few steps. So, you know, like we talked about with the assembly, you know, the first step is you talk to, you know, hopefully a couple potential lenders or investors. You talk to them about what you're doing and what you're trying to do. You find out if they may be interested, or, you know, would be willing to take a look at your deal. Then if they are, they'll usually ask you they'll give you a document list, which is like what we showed in the initial documents that they're going to request. So then you send those to them, and then they look at them and they decide if they're still interested. So it's a little bit like dating. You know, you meet each other and decide, maybe we can go on a date. They say, send me your resume, and you know, I look them up on LinkedIn and Facebook, social media. Send me your stuff, and you know, if you still seem cool, then maybe we'll go out. And you know, so then once they get the first information, then if they're fine with what they see, then they'll come talk with you, and you know, ask some questions, and then ask for additional information. And you know, from there, if they're fine with the information and other things, they're going to probably ask you to fill out a loan application, and you know, other pieces there. So it's sort of like a building relationship, but throughout the whole process, they're trying to evaluate whether they should finance you, and they're looking at, you know, how credible you are, how competent you are, what your credit is, what your capacity is. You know, they're continually looking at, you know, evaluating with you. So you know, just like in dating, you always want to look your best and put forward a good impression. Same with this process, and working through it with them. So as you're going, you put in your application. Then what they might do is give you a letter of, what do they call it? They'll give you a letter, sort of like a letter of interest. So they'll tell you, okay, we think we kind of like you. We think we kind of might be willing to give you this type of loan that would look like this in terms of interest and term, and these would be the fees. And then you sign that, and usually they'll want a deposit with that. but that doesn't mean you're getting financing. That just means that they're interested in possibly financing you. Then they're going to ask for additional information, look at additional things, and eventually you'll get to a commitment letter. So once you have a commitment letter, then it's more likely that you're going to get financed. That's like getting engaged. The bank basically says, we're going to finance you, but we have to look at these things, and these things have to be in order. But if they are, then we're probably going to finance you this much, and it's going to look like this. And then they're going to ask you for more documents and want more information, and they might have other requirements. And then once they go through that, then they will, set you up, then you can get approved and you get your financing. So that process could take, depending on who you're working with and what type of loan, anywhere from a couple days to 3 months to 6 months to a year to 2 years. I was working with one client over a year. It took us over a year to get them their SBA loan finance. So it's not a short process. So you really want to start early, as early as you can, and do as much to prepare as you can, because then that'll shorten the time frame a lot. And you're going to work with your accountant or bookkeeper, but you have to keep in mind that a lot of times they focus on having you pay the least taxes, and whoever is going to invest in you is going to look at your profits. So, if your tax return shows the least profits, lower profits, then that's going to reduce your ability to borrow. So, you definitely have to let them know that you're looking for financing, and make sure that you're reporting everything that you need, so that you can demonstrate how well your business is really doing, so that you can get the best opportunity for getting financing. So when they're doing underwriting and due diligence, there's different things that they do. They're going to look at your business upward, downward, backward, forward, all the way. They're going to look at your industry. They're going to look at your competition. They're going to look at what type of collateral you have. They're going to look at all the owners. So, just because you're the main owner doesn't mean that the other owners don't have to be involved and be, their information, they have to submit their information as well. So they're part of the process. And, with these loans, you're usually going to have to sign a personal guarantee, so that even if it doesn't work out, you personally own the loan. And if you're married, most of the time your spouse is going to have to sign it too, whether or not they're part of the business, because of the legal marriage relationship and other owners. So keep that in mind as well. You don't want, a lot of people, they get up to the end and they're like, what? My wife has to sign it too? I can't do this. So don't keep your financing thing a secret. And be prepared. So, when you're dealing with a bank, they're about pieces of paper. So they don't want you to tell them stuff. They want it on a piece of paper. So, whenever you're communicating, or, they ask you questions or they ask you for something, they want it on paper usually. And it's, important to understand that, because, they may ask you for something that, you may have told them, or you may have it mentions it somewhere. They through the process, there's specific things that they have to have as part of the underwriting process, or it's going to hold things up or cause you not to get financed. So, it's, sometimes they're going to ask you for stuff and you're like, well, why do you really need that? It doesn't matter. They need it. So you want to think of that. And, I talked about, the process is, you start with them. They'll look at some basic info. If they think they might want to lend to you, they'll give you a term sheet. If they really think they want to lend to you, they'll give you a commitment letter. And then once they come up with a final decision, then they'll do the close. But until the money's in your bank, anything can happen. And as I mentioned before, you probably want to start out looking at 3 different sources up until the commitment letter. Once you get a commitment letter somewhere or decide which commitment letter you want to go with, then you probably want to focus on one. But up until that, you want to keep your options open, because different banks work differently, and sometimes they do a better job for you if they know there's some competition. And unfortunately, it shouldn't be like this, but banks also make decisions on how well they're doing versus their goals. So if a bank was supposed to make $1 million in goal, their goal was to make $1 million this quarter in loans, and they only made 500,000, they're going to be more aggressive about approving loans. Whereas if their goal was $1 million, they already did 1.1 million, they're probably not going to be very aggressive. And what they might do is try and push back your timing of the loan until the next quarter, so that it fits in with their goal from the last time for the next period. So, you never know what's going on behind the scenes as well when you're looking for financing. So, it's important to keep that in mind too. So, really, looking at the underwriting, and, when they're looking at you, they're using different tools to analyze you. They're looking at trends over time. They're looking at how things have changed versus your sales or versus your assets. And they're looking at ratios, all these different methodologies to understand your finances and analyze them, which are also things you could and should be doing as a business owner anyways, so that you can better understand your business and make better decisions. So, just understand that they're going to be looking at a lot of stuff. So really, that's what the PRAY, pray for financing, prepare, research, assemble, and yield is all about. So let's see. Couple questions. Let me go back to the questions real quick. So hopefully everyone's hearing okay, and the audio is working for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Question about cabbage. So other than just being a vegetable that some people may not like too much, it is a website that basically aggregates lenders to compete for financing you. So you could think of it as, what's that other one? Lending Tree for businesses. So
which one do you think is better?
Huh?
Which one do you think is better?
I don't know. I don't use either of them.
Okay, so okay.
But they work for some people. So, but yeah, but you've got those. I mean, I usually have relationships with people at different institutions, so that usually works better for me. But wherever you can get the best deal, is what you want to do. Okay. Husband and wife credit score. Well, unfortunately, your credit score is what it is. So, at the time you can't change it, but you should be looking at, both the husband and wife's, early on, before you even are thinking about financing, to try and make any improvements you can. It's key for the main business owner to have the 660, but it will still hurt if the spouse is much lower. The important thing is, it's not just only the number, it's also the underlying report and what's driving the number. Is it, sometimes they can understand student loans might be an issue. Maybe there was something that happened, some people go through a divorce and like their credit gets torn up, but then they are in a better spot, but it's still lingering bad acts of the past are hurting them, but they've cleared everything up. So, you also want to understand, and if there's a story or explanation, you want to have that and make it easy. And you want to write it down on a piece of paper so they can have it as part of your package, so that it can be considered. Some institutions will care, some will not care for an explanation, but that's one reason why the micro lenders and other nonprofit organizations will be willing to consider more things when they're doing the process, and they have more of a personal approach to making the decision as rather than just a strictly numbers approach. So, okay, but good question. Yeah, definitely, this having the spouse involved, and my wife and I don't have the same credit score either. So, so that's important to look at. Okay. What else we have? Okay, so we got those questions. Okay. What months are the loan quarters? Okay, so, was thinking more quarterly, regular quarters, first 3 months, second, third, fourth. And, generally that's how banks set up their goals. They have a goal for the quarterly. So every quarter there's a goal for what they're supposed to do. And if they're not close to their goal, they're going to do whatever they can to do it. It's sort of like, if you go to buy a car at the end of the month, it's the best time because they need to get their goal. So they're more flexible and will do a lot more to get you to drive out with one of their cars at the end of the month rather than at the beginning. So, but no, it's good question. Yeah, a lot of people don't think of it.
It's Stacy. It's Stacy. I want to just clarify that question. So are the banking quarters like March, June, September, December, or are they on another schedule, say like January, April? Is their business year the same as like the January to December business year, or is it? I know some companies are like I think their business year ends in October or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right. That's more like government. Okay. That's what the federal government does in October. But yeah, for most banks and financial institutions, they're on the regular year.
Okay, thanks. This is helpful.
Okay.
And my husband is my business partner, so
okay.
We're trying to figure out who's going to be the primary because he's the vet, where mine is, I'm the woman.
Okay.
But since he got the better credit score, we got to have a conversation.
Okay. Well, I can't help you with that one. But,
no, I need Jesus for that one.
Good luck. Yeah, but you got to be on the same page. There's nothing worse than than not being, and then they'll figure it out too. So, yeah, so that's important. So, yeah, okay. I see there's a couple more Q&As okay. Okay, so I think I got the Q&As and questions. So yeah, there's a few more things to cover in the presentation, and we're close to the end. So thanks for hanging in there. Hopefully we're getting you what you want to know. And so let's take a look. And actually, there's a little video that I'll show real quick that probably be good. It just talks a little bit about what a you know, what the people who are looking at, well, actually, you'll see.
One of the most important metrics in lending is called coverage. So, for example, if you know, in the easiest terms, if you are making a widget and you're charging $10 for it, it costs you $8 to make. You have $2 left over to pay your staff, to pay your overhead, keep the lights on. Having a loan that requires a $3 payment is not a good fit for you because you can only make a $2 payment max. If so for example, it might make sense for you to raise prices or lower your cost or find a way where you can support a larger debt burden. If that is not possible or not an option, that might determine like, hey, we really think you can only cover this kind of a debt payment per week, per month. And again, if you lend outside of that range, it's irresponsible because those payments that your business is unable to make will put you out of business. So really having an understanding of what you can afford to pay in terms of debt will help inform what kind of loan you can get in order to grow your business, purchase that next that next asset for your business.
So as he's saying in the video, you have to have a loan that works for your business situation, and that's a big piece of the underwriting. They're going to look at your financials. Can you afford this loan? If you get this loan, how are you going to be able to pay it back? What is this loan going to do for your business? Is it going to make your business, so it's important to keep that in mind. When you're looking for financing, there's certain things that you don't want to say you need it for, or you shouldn't need it for. A lot of times, you may want financing to get more people, but they usually don't like when you say, I need to get some financing so I can hire more people, unless you already have the business for them to do or the work for them to do. You need to hire some more people because you have all these orders that you can't get processed and get paid for, but you need some money to bring them on board to set them up. That's cool. But if you're bringing on someone on board to borrow money and, you don't have the business or the money coming in for them, then that's kind of hard to justify because they're investing in something that may or may not yield results. And so that's kind of not good for you and not good for them. So, those, a lot of times lenders don't like you to borrow money to pay off debt or to pay off loans. They don't like, they might do it. They don't want it to be the only reason. Like if you're just trying to get a loan so you can pay off another loan, a lot of times they don't like to do that type of financing. And so, you really want to have a purpose, for what you're looking for. And you want to focus on looking for financing and getting access to capital because you have a clear need for it within your business, and it's a good investment that is likely to pay off. So, so those are key things there. So now let's take a look at, we'll just do a little bit of a recap, and then we'll do some final Q&A, and we'll get you out of here on your weekend. So let's take a look. So we'll do a quick review. So we talked about a little bit about figuring out how much money you need, doing your sources and uses of capital, and really working from, some more realistic numbers. A lot of people I run into say, oh yeah, I need 50,000. Well, do you? How do you know? you sure you don't need more than that? You sure you don't need less than that? What are you gonna do with it? What is the result of what you're gonna do with it? So, that's an important question to answer. Okay. What type of loan and what type of institution am I looking for? Or what type of financing, what type of institution? So we walked through a little bit about what type of financing can be available to startups. And then also we talked a little bit about, if you're looking for something small, maybe micro lender, friends and family tend to be the best. You could do the business plan competition, crowdfunding, but there's different types of financing and different types of financiers based on how much money you're looking for, what type of business you have, and all. What goes into a good financing proposal. So we talked about, preparing yourself and your business and assembling the documents. So that's key. And then, all these things put together will significantly increase your chances of obtaining financing. One thing I would say is when you're looking for financing, usually you're better off trying to find financing from someone who's not trying to give it to you rather than take it from someone who's trying to give it to you. Usually the people who are coming up to you, just like with credit cards, the people who are coming up to you with offers are generally getting paid to do it, and usually they're not the best offer. So, you really want to do your research and find different lenders and different options for financing as opposed to just the ones that find you. Okay. And then, now that you understand some of the things you need to do to prepare, you can put together a plan and get started on that plan so that when the time comes, you're ready. You should have a better idea of what type of financing you want. We talked about some things that you need to avoid and some things that you need to have. And all that can help you get financing quicker and easier. So, to recap, we talked about preparing yourself in your business, researching investors and lenders, assembling the required information, and yielding to underwriters and analysts. And all these things are required. So before you do anything, you need to get these things in place before you try and get any type of loan or equity investment, because you got to have your own money. You want to work on your credit. You need your taxes filed. You need to know what you're going to do with the money and have a plan. You need to have some income so that you can show that you can pay it back. And you need to have a business bank account so that you can demonstrate that you're keeping records and managing your money. So those are required. These are key things that you should have that are helpful to have. You have to have credit, but good credit is even better. Collateral is helpful because that lowers the risk. Having real estate is great because then you have an asset. Having sales, even better, having sales and profits, and sometimes having a cosigner. So all these things, boost the likelihood of you getting profitability and help make it easier. And those are the key things that want to make sure that you're getting out of the session today. We got about 15 minutes, so we could definitely do some Q&A and get your feedback and ideas. And I don't know, Priscilla, do you have something they need to fill out as well? Okay, well, we'll wait. She'll be back in, but let's see.
I'm here, Andrew. What's up?
Do they need to do any type of survey or anything? Or are you just going to send it to them, or? Yes,
there's a survey at the end. So once we close out, it'll pop up for them to complete.
Okay, great. And then, so any other questions specifically about what you're doing or anything that talked about that you'd like to ask about or know more about? Okay. So what if your house is in a trust? Okay. So if your house is in a trust, then you sort of don't really own your house. The trust owns your house. So that makes it a lot more complex, and it probably won't really count for collateral because it's not owned by you, but more specifically the trust. But you can talk to the legal, whoever helped you set up your trust, just to make sure, and talk to whoever's investing or lending. They may or may not give you credit for that, but generally I would say that it's going to just look at it as assuming that
is it normal
normal to put your house in a trust? Okay, can't quite hear you. Say it again. Okay. Well, can't hear you, but I said something about I'd say most people don't have their house in a trust, but I guess it's a financial planning thing, depending on kind of what's going on. But by putting it in a trust, then it legally it's owned by the trust and not you, so you can't really put it up for collateral the same way as if it was owned by you. So they there's a good chance they won't give you credit for it.
Okay. It's so it's something that we considered because thinking about, so like, yes, we'll have insurance, but anytime you're dealing with families, you always have to be careful. And we're thinking, like, God forbid something happens and we get sued, we don't want our home gone. What about our own, what about our kids?
Right.
But that is something to, like, how do people protect themselves?
Well, you can protect yourself through, setting up an LLC, or a corporation can protect you from being sued.
Okay.
If you're getting financing, they're going to make you sign, be personally liable for it as well. So from the financing side, they may come after you for your house, but from a business side, they wouldn't. So, it sort of depends, but, there's costs associated with the trust. And, if you don't think you're going to be successful, then, you probably shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
Okay. That's a good way. All right. That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Not going into it with a negative view.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. I get that. Thank you. I thank you. That was a good check.
Okay, no problem. You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions? Anything else? Okay. So I know we covered a lot. You may need some time to digest it. Think about what we discussed. Think about where you are. If you need help with your business plan, you can look at participating in the SBDC business planning course, as well as there's plenty other different courses that are offered. In addition, if you want to sit down with someone one-on-one, you can reach out to Priscilla, and she can set you up with someone so that you can talk through your business and different things along with your business, and get support and counseling. And I think we're good. We covered a lot of stuff. I wish you much success, and look forward to seeing you doing well in business. And nobody does it by themselves, so make sure you collaborating and seeking help when you need it, and make it happen. Look forward to it. Thanks for joining me and spending your Saturday morning and early afternoon. And unless there's any other questions, I'm going to turn it over to Priscilla.
All right. So I think I'll just repeat what we said earlier. And did you provide the contact information, Andrew, or?
Oh, you want me to provide mine, or should they just go through you?
I'll put it here at the end. So for those on today's, it's messing up here. Hold 1 minute. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I might have X'd out of it here.
And also I'm on LinkedIn, so feel free to join, connect with me on LinkedIn. Because as a business owner, you should be on LinkedIn and using it.
I, for some reason, can't. Has everyone seen that's my screen with the contact information for the SBDC?
Not seeing it.
Okay, let me
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not seeing it.
Okay, back. Okay, I'm back.
There we
Okay,
go.
so for those that want to take advantage of the no-cost consulting service, if anyone here wants to follow up with Andrew, just reach out to us by going to our website, www.rnsbdc.com, and complete a request for counseling. That is needed before we can assign you a counselor. If you need help specifically with financing, there's a bunch of different options there. A lot of people tend to click everything, but there's a section that asks specific assistance needed, and in that section you should put in you need help with financing or capital. Otherwise, if you click all the other options, they may assign you to a consultant that is just doing general consulting. They're not specifically dealing with financing. So feel free to just reach out to us. Hopefully by Monday, I will be emailing out a copy